Hey guys, what up? What up? How we doing? We have some stuff to react to, and that includes PoE 2, Ellie, and an interview. So we're going to be doing this in order of whichever is going to be quicker, and I think the patch notes will be the quickest. So we're going to start off there. I haven't obviously looked at it. Oh, we'll see. And as a side, how you guys doing? Hope you all are doing fine. Doing good myself, quite tired from work, but we move. All right, patch notes time. Support gem changes. Spark granted by Earthbound Vortex staff no longer mistakenly supported by cooldown supports. Ancestral Cry is no longer mistakenly supported by cooldown supports. Plague Burst is now supported. Okay, so just stuff I really don't care about. All right. Volcanic eruptions. Okay. Iron Ward. Nova radius is now 6 meters, previously 1.8. Now stores this. I don't know what Iron Ward is, but power to it. Lethal Draw. Heat Forge unique. Now has 100% increased armor. Oh. It was nerfed. No, it actually rose rage on it. Okay. Rabbit Idol now has 5% rarity instead of 8. Lesser Idol of Haste. Lesser Essence of Haste is 10% attack cast speed on bows and crossbows. Unchanged on melee. So this is what they talked about in the interview with essences having a higher roll than naturally available for bows and crossbows. So they finally changed that. And now perfect essence of sorcery cannot be applied to foci, so you can still get +3 on wands and staves. But I assume stave should be better than wands in terms of like the amount of levels it adds. The Arbiter of Ash will now face transition at the lower life threshold and will heal to full during the trans. What the fuck?
Yeah, you gotta fight him. You gotta do the phase. I'm down.
So basically,
Don't forget this guy's gated by.
They've given him more EHP because now it's healing to full.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't forget this guy's he gets your.
He gets your tablets. Yeah.
So he doesn't just need DPS. All you DPS showcases.
All right, monster changes. Frost rate adjusted spectacles, reduce cooldown on some skills. Cool. Lightning rate adjusted spectacles. Val Vulture improved AI. Val Vulture is the one. Is that the one that jumps, or is that the one that does DD? The one that does DD is, I feel like it's PoE 2 DB. I feel like it's the one that jumps. Val Vulture. Yeah, it's the one that jumps. Is Mr. Leap Slam. Alright. So Val Vulture has improved AI. Pardon Impaler improved AI. Actually, I'd actually be curious to see what its AI would look like, but with all the cooldowns he has, it'd probably be a shit Spectre. But I'd still be curious. Skeletal Reaper. Skeletal Reaper. If I don't know his Spectre, I just know it was asked to begin with. Holy Cultist Archer reduce cooldown. Let's fucking go.
Shit, bro.
Let's fucking go. This one is nice. This one is nice. I'm all for this one. I've been trying to make this one work. I'm here for it. Then Cultist Archer, Black Strider from Abyss. Reduce monster power resulting in lower spectre cost. Improved AI. Increased the web mortar skill. Reduce cooldown of some skills. Which one was Black Strider again? Which one of them was Black Strider? Abyss monsters, I guess. Abyss. I forget their name. Black blooded. I feel like he wasn't black blooded. I feel like he was. Where's the other guy? These were not their names, but I forget their names as well. I don't remember how to find them. Abyssal depths. There we go. Wait, this is straight out of the pits. So it's not the same guy. So wait, who is Black Strider? I assume one of the crypt specters, to be honest. At this point. Ziggurat Refuge, Titan Grotto, Ashen Forest. Who is in Krya Village, Titan Grotto, and Ziggurat Refuge? Is it the guy that falls? It can't be. It's a mass mortar. So it's not the. It's obviously not the tornado skeleton. It's not the giant skeletons that fall. It's not the one that jumps into the ground. Who does mortars? Web mortars. Is it this? Is it a spider? But the spider is in more places than Titan Grotto, the one that does the shotgun spider web. Maybe it's that guy. Easy way to find out, actually. Kuritoru, coming to find your channel. Black Strider, Rudy. Toru. Nope. Doesn't have a video on it, I think. Is how how great they are, I guess. Black Rider. Yeah, there's nothing anywhere. I don't know where they. Wait, this mob I am looking at isn't even spectrable. The fuck? This is not spectrable. Are we improving specters that can't be spectered? Yeah, okay. I don't question it. Werewolf Prowler is the one from Act 1. Seconds. Well, I guess if town is, you know, second zone after town, the one that charges at you, just a werewolf. It's okay. Nothing crazy. Brimstone Crab, Quadrilla improved monster AI. Iron Sharpshooter could be interesting. Give me a sec. Okay. Fungal Proliferator. This is probably going to be. This is probably going to be the most interesting of these minions. The Sharpshooter. Varguards no longer throw oil every 2 seconds. 11 seconds. Okay. Are these all the monsters? Okay. Fix an issue where in some cases explosive shot will fully remove broken armor from enemies. Then escape shot and ice tipped arrows. Aside cultist archers, none of these inspire me with confidence. Bramble Hawk is whatever. Val Vulture again, whatever. Frost rate could be decent. Lightning rates, I'm not entirely sure who lightning rate is, because I assume this is like Act 1 Spectre. Not sure which one lightning rate is. Actually, I think it's probably very similar to Frost rate. I have one in mind, but I don't think that is called lightning rate, but I could be wrong. Mod Simulacrum is the one that comes from the where you kill the worm in Act 1. I forget his name, the Devourer. The guys who come out of the wall, that's Mod Simulacrum. Ancient Ezomite, I think, is also from the same place the fungal proliferators are, but I don't think I have a mental picture of Ancient Ezomite. But Ancient Ezomite has lightning arrows, so that could be interesting. So name is Ancient Ezomite. Actually, no, I don't fully know. Bull. These guys, I see them. Oh my god. Why do you have to be so loud? So keep in mind, the only change that they said for these guys is their lightning arrows are now properly attacks or something. Or now have attack tag or something. And already, from what I can see, their movement speed is ass. But ignore that fact. Let's. I guess they have mortars, but if they're not made faster, they're not viable. I'm sorry, they're just not. With this movement speed, it's not happening. Unless you like janky gameplay, then sure. Yeah, it's not happening with this movement speed. I'm sorry. It's just not. The fact that they didn't add movement speed to that shit is interesting. Besides, actually, they didn't add movement speed to any of these guys. And that's one of the bigger problems of Spectres in PoE too. Who knows? Maybe improved monster AI means they give them movement speed too. Like, we can cope on that, I guess. What'd you say?
Seething.
I mean, I am coping, but what else am I gonna do at this point? There is a lot to cover in this last epoch. Is there a video?
Just wait. No, there's no video.
Jesus, they didn't make a video.
Just wait. I told you that's just happening another day.
Well, how did I consume this last time? I think I watched Frozen Sentinel. Frozen, come save us. Frozen Sentinel, please. Tell me you made a video. Baba's last video is 13 days ago. It's over. It's over. All right. Let me just see. Surely Dread has made a video. Teaser trailer 1 hour ago. All right, let's see what the teaser trailer is. What?
It hasn't made a video.
On my way. My guy, if this is not going to be long, then be good quality at least. Let's go. Shattered Omens. March 26. What's today's date again? 8th of December. These guys really be treating their league like a hospital appointment, booking 4 months in advance. I can't. I honestly can't. PoE is doing 4 month releases. They're doing, oh yeah, we've been out like 6 months while our league is in 4 months. Let's go.
Just so sad, bro.
Oh my god. Like again, I'm not even saying they should match PoE's cadence or anything, but like you can't be doing 1 season a year. You can't be doing 1 season a year. How many seasons did they have this year? 1, right? Or am I forgetting something?
Well, yeah, the last season was what, 7 months ago?
Yeah, it was the one where they did Druid. When did I make that Druid video? Is it Druid or Primalist, whatever his name is? What up, Dave? How you doing? Welcome. How long ago was my Primalist video? In fact, I'll just check my live stream. When was the last time I said last epoch on my live stream? My guy, you don't have the dates. August. Now, what before August? When was it? Oh, they actually had 2 this year. Thank God. Actually, they had 2. They had April and August. I assume. Yeah, April and August. And then ghost mode. So do it. You know what? Let's assume this is how it happened. Because it's possible. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they were trying to match PoE's cadence. So they did April. And because April was the PoE 2 debacle one where PoE 2 launched a few days after, which is why I only have how many streams of it, and that was it. PoE 2 launches, and then they're like, okay, 4 months later, we're going to do this one. This one was a week before PoE 2 again, and then they just saw those numbers and they were like, yeah, we can't be matching this. Because the backlash on the amount of content that was actually added was, I don't know. I think the last season was okay in terms of like the amount of like build variety they added into the game. The mechanic was just ass. So if they released the uniques they released last time but had an actual mechanic, we're done fine. But then if you tell me you're going from April to March without a league, I'm saying there's a problem somewhere. You don't have to do you don't have to do 4 months. You don't have to give us in November or anything like that. But don't be doing August to March. That is it's excessive, don't you think? It's a bit excessive. That's what, 7 months difference? It's a bit excessive. Well, what do I know? What do I know? I hate this league. I can't even make myself to play. Which league? Last Epoch? I didn't mind the last Epoch league. I actually got around to playing like Beastmaster, but it's so sad that the season where they actually teased and everything with the Acolyte rework and they say, yeah, the witch is getting reworked, yada yada yada, minion overhaul, yada yada yada. They gave us Abomination and said is a wrap. That's all. Abomination sprinkled some nodes on the tree that were slightly different and said, oh, yeah, have fun. Meanwhile, the Primalist was eating good with all those minions that are getting, oh, this one uses Earthquake, but the Earthquake skills up for your Earthquake tree, but up the minion stats. So, like, I don't understand the priority there. You say this is the Acolyte rework, and then you show more love to Primalist minions? How does that work? No, I'm sorry. Can you explain it to me in a way I would understand? Because what? Anyways, I digress. All right, so we have last Epoch. Let's just go through this. I'll try to be as quick as I can while understanding this, and I'm probably summarizing for you guys as I'm going. Today we're sharing a deeper look at what would be season 4, what's coming in season 4, season 5, and the last Epoch Orbis expansion. So you're talking about more than just season 4. Oh, okay. Launch date for season 4 and the first details about its content. We're also pulling back the curtain on some of what you can expect in season 5. Why were you talking about season 5 when season 4 is not even out? Okay. And offering an early glimpse at the journey behind Orbis. Can we focus on the season 4 that's ahead of us? That's in March. I'm complaining it's in March. You're talking about 5. I don't know when 5 will be. Will I have kids by Oribis? I don't know. Well, let's go. We want to touch on our information release cadence and quantity for a moment. This information release cadence and quantity. There's a bit delicate balance between keeping the committee informed, keep information hidden to build hype before this. Recognize that. Yeah. Okay. Updated roadmap. Before we get into the details, let's look at an updated roadmap. So let's look at this. Open image in new tab. Can I just open the link in new tab instead? Would that be bigger? Cool. When you look into the void looks back into you. That's what you're getting, I assume. That's saying. When you gaze into the abyss gazes back at you. Seasonal mechanic, omen windows, echo chains, corrupted items, corrupted altars, which are basically idle inventories. Corrupted altars. Maybe a way to craft idols, but that'll be very similar to the April League, the Weaver League. New rogue skill Shadowrend. Blade Storm expanded to full skill. Blade Storm. I think I kind of know it. Primalist animation overhaul, rogue animation updates, rogue and spellblade updates. You know my problem with their animation overhaul so far? My biggest problem with it is that they would overhaul the animation and they know the problem. They know the problem why people say the combat feels like ass. It's a fun game, combat feels like ass. They know why. You see them in Reddit all the time. They can list the problems. But then when they make the overhauls and the revamps to like animations, they still miss the mark on all those things. And I don't fully understand why. If you're going to go through the time of overhauling the Primalist animations, then I expect at least by the time you're done, the Primalist fixes those issues you had. Now, granted, we can say it's a bit ignorant because there's a lot of there's a lot of the combat that's outside the actual skill, like in the way the hits get registered on the enemies and everything, and that could be a big reason why we still don't have like the feedback we need when we use skills. We don't get the visceral feedback, we don't get the good sound engineering, yada yada, we don't get that reaction we want when you use a skill and what you see, right? We can say all of that. If that is the case, then don't do any overhaul. Save all that dev time for when you can do a big system overhaul and just do that. That's what I think. I don't know why you didn't overhaul. That's not fixing the issue. Well, what do I know? Season 5, face the wrath of a raging demigod. And this has broken horns. Maybe this is Hioborea or what's his fate? What's his name? I forget the name of the ice guy. Anyways, this is not Rage of Morditas, probably Morditas. Yeah, it is. New bosses come in, new paladin skill, Radiant Lance, Merchant Guild and Circle of Fortune improvements. Surely the biggest improvement Merchant Guild can have is to have one vendor. Or am I bugging? Let's wait and see. In before they say you can search better across all your 20 vendors. Anyways, new uniques and set items, balance and skill changes. Balance and skill changes. Doesn't this look a bit light for a season? I mean, I assume that a lot of it that would typically fill this area is the seasonal mechanic and maybe information on that. But like, they didn't even tell us shit that doesn't make sense to us, like echo chains and corrupted altars. Like they didn't even fill up that, they didn't even do all that. They just left it blank. And that's season 5. That'll come out in December, if we're lucky. And then we have Oribis that has 2 different lines of text because we're going to be paying for something in here, the major expansion. I know it sounds like I'm trying to hate, but I'm actually even not. Like I want early success, but they've dropped the ball. They really have. Like I had big hopes for them, and it's been sad to see. And then we have season 6 hidden in the corner. Why we can see the 6th, I know not. But 2 new story chapters and conclusion of Oribis saga. I feel like you guys could have just rounded up the story in 1 chapter and called it a day and focus resources elsewhere. New endgame and pinnacle bosses, Oribis, Uber Oribis, and more. Okay, 2 bosses, like endgame and Uber. I'll take it. That's actually pretty decent. Major skill system expansion, skill sigils. So sigils are not coming till 2027. Okay. At least I don't know. I have nothing to say to that. Combat audio overhaul. So this is the overhaul I'm looking for. Animation overhaul for this. This is probably going to be the big upgrade I'm hoping to see. Now the question is, will it be enough? I'm hoping it is, but we have to wait until the expansion to get that. Now my question is, why on earth is this guy here? Why are these 2 here? Can someone explain this to me? Why are these 2 not here? Why not just yoink this here, add more content for 4, add more content for 5, and then do this? Anyways, PC performance upgrades. Wait, so if we were having PC performance issues, we'd be waiting 2 seasons to finally get help in that regard? Because like, it's one thing to just say every season that you're improving, you know, performance and everything, but to have this be a selling point of the expansion, PC performance upgrade, does that mean nothing is going to happen here? Does that mean if you were having, I don't know, I mean, last epoch was fine for me personally, but if you, let's say you were having, I don't know, bad FPS or whatever, like, I think last epoch, isn't last epoch one of those games that are notorious for like memory leaks and stuff? I believe so. So if you were, if with their memory leak problems, they aren't working on anything here, they're just waiting for here. I think that's a bit, you know, so. Monolith of Fate update, corruption tiers. So we're getting Monolith of Fate updates, which should be a big end game change. Hopefully that's good. Major user interface, quality of life. Again, all of these things, we'll probably end up seeing all of these in 2027. But it's all good. We'll be here for it. At this rate, PoE will launch before they get the overhaul their animations. Well, PoE 2 rather. I don't know if I said that already, but anyway, season 4 is aimed to be a well-rounded patch, bringing a new seasonal mechanic, itemization, and improvement to existing systems. Some class updates, QOL. Let's talk about Omen windows. So fight it in a circle. Okay. In season 4, travelers will encounter tears in reality known as Omen windows. These fractures reflect the moment the observer fell into despair and pulled fate itself into darkness. Wait, so this observer just be falling into despair? Because if each one is representing when he fell into despair and pulled fate into, fate has suffered in the hands of observer, don't you think? Like every single map, he's getting despair. Omen windows appear as a new type of random encounter shot, both campaign and endgame. When you discover a window, step into the area, the window shatters into a fragmented ring and draws out an omen, an entity created from pure void and observer's madness. This begins a relentless assault of fractured enemies emerging from the shards, defeating enemies inside the ring, expands the area, and progresses the encounter. So this is a mix of Breach and Harbinger, basically. Not bad to see. In the first phase, the Omen cannot be damaged or debuffed. It stays elusive while tethering to and empowering elite fractured enemies. After enough waves are defeated, the Omen destroys any remaining enemies, absorbs your strength, and then engages the player directly. Omen windows scale in difficulty as you move through the campaign and continue to the monolith with higher levels of corruption. Higher tier rewards Reward players with an increased item quantity and improved item quality upon completion. So I guess the question would be, how far does it go in its circle? Is there a way to influence the outcome you get, like killing more enemies makes it better, or leaving more enemies alive makes the final boss harder, or you know, stuff like that? Or is it just a DPS check where you can't, you that can or you can't do it, and that's all there is to it? I mean, it looks like it's good. It will probably end up potentially being a repeat encounter or a stomp, depending on how the balance goes. Omen window encounters offer a trove of valuable rewards, including runes of corruption, the time glass fragments, which we will talk about below. In addition to these, you will earn corrupted altars and omen idols, which will reveal more details about closer to the launch. Omen idols, so basically idols that influence the omens, maybe. Corrupted items and rune of corruption. As players slay omens, they may drop runes of corruptions. These new runes can be used to corrupt an item, modifying it unpredictably. The resulting item may emerge vastly improved with new modifiers and effects that can only be obtained by corruption, or the item might be downgraded or completely ruined. Will you take the risk of corrupting one of your best items? As we get closer, we'll explore in more detail the myriad of outcomes and whatever. Time glass fragments, a new multi-use currency that can be used to trade for specific items, including runes of corruption and new woven echoes. So the merchant guild exclusive. Echo chains are a group of sequential echoes that reveal all of their links as soon as they appear in the monolith echo web. Several types of echo chains revolve around specific mechanics, allowing you to continue engaging with those mechanics over multiple echoes. You finish a chain with a related more rewarding echo, such as Conquer Tower. So it would be every map in the chain is going to be based on the same mechanic. Like let's say one has Nemesis, all of them will have Nemesis, and then the last one will have something like Conquer Towers. Okay. My fear for this is that it still doesn't really change the gameplay loop of the end game, but let's keep reading. Inch-link in the chain provides a quick portal to the next echo, removing the need to return to the monolith panel between runs. Why would you be the ones to make this change? Isn't this the change that someone suggested in TLI for not having to go back to your town, and I thought was a terrible idea? You guys now put it inside your... Okay. And for context, the reason why I think it's a terrible idea is having to go to your town or your hideout is in a way it is a way for you to reset, to not feel like you're just slugging through endless content. You have that little bit of like 10 seconds to like 20-second break where it's like, okay, now it's on idea that there's a loading screen in between, but that doesn't matter. The point of it is to help you not burn out. Because if you're just chaining map to map to map to map, back to back to back to back, at least for me, I will burn out way quicker than if I were to just have that little bit of breathing room where, okay, I'm done my map, I'm going to pee, I'm going to drink water, I'm going to do whatever, come back, continue for the next 10 maps or whatever. And then again, when I get back to my town, at some point, I'll make that decision to, okay, let's use like a minute or two to do something and then come back to it, and that allows me to have way longer sessions. And that's just typically why ARPGs necessitate you to go back to your player hub, if you will. PoE 2, PoE 1, the games that don't do it are not the greatest. I mean, look at our friend D4 over there who doesn't do that. I mean, I can't play D4 that long. I get bored. But that's a really different conversation entirely. Anyways, provides a quick portal to the next echo, removing the need to return, keeping you in the flow. If you want to engage with echo chains more frequently, there's also a new Weaver tree node. I took it to Weaver tree node, that's fine. As season 4 approaches, we'll go into more details. Okay. New rogue skill. Melee so it repeats your attack. It's a dash where they use that attack. So you can spec it to where you dash or the shadow dashes. In this case, you dash. You can probably make it so he dashes instead of you. So I assume when you dash, it becomes a traversal skill. And I mean, I wonder what customization options there are, but I guess we're reading into it just because it kind of looks like, I mean, it's not really a minion, I would say, because it looks like it just does one attack and that's it. So I probably wouldn't even dabble with it, but let's see. Triggers a swift initial strike and leaves behind the shadow that unleashes a far stronger delayed attack. Align other shadow interacting skills to make use of it. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't do much after that. Blade Storm is a new standalone skill inspired by favorite node from the Umbral Blades tree. It holds a spinning blade. Target location, terrain, or anything caught in its path. So it's basically spin to win. And it can do other things like shurikens. It's not a bad idea. Spellblade update, yada yada. Combat feel. Jeez. Enemy hit interaction. So this is what I was talking about, the combat feel. One of our ongoing goals is make combat feel more visceral and responsive. You've likely seen this evolve across recent updates through improvements to animation, sound, and visual effects. I mean, I'm not still playing. I don't think I know anyone that's still playing. I mean, I definitely don't know anybody that's still playing. And if I did, I'd be worried about them, but even the most no-life degen for last epoch aren't playing right now. Like, no one's playing as far as I know, at least. In season 4, we're pushing that further with a significant enhancement. Enemies now visually react to your hits through new additive animations explicitly crafted for each enemy type. This update has been applied across the game. Changes may seem subtle at first, but it's meaningfully improves the impact and clarity of combat, making every strike feel more connected. I mean, this is definitely a good step in the right direction. Definitely, I think. Oh, jeez. Yeah, I mean, this is all we have to see, so I can't comment too much on how good it is. Try without sound, but like I said, it's definitely a step in the right direction, so I can't complain. Primalist and Rogue. Primalist is receiving a full set of new animations in 4. Surely you show us Leap Slam, right? Everybody's favorite Leap Slam. Don't tell me this is Leap Slam. That looks like he just jumps forward, like dashes forward and then slams the ground. That can't be Leap Slam. I refuse. Can't be. It's not my Leap Slam. That's not Leap Slam. That's something else entirely. It's a new skill, maybe. Several of the original early access animations will be rebuilt or reimagined, make one feel more impactful and movement feels noticeably smoother. If you tell me that you expect me to use this as a mobility skill where I jump in one spot and then I stand and then my character whacks into the ground before I can move again, yeah, that can't be it. Can't be. It's something else. And the other updates, we don't really care about any of these. Riot's Embrace. I see minion here, so I'll read it. Increase minion fire damage. Oh, so is this going to be fire raptor build item? Chance to ignite on minion hits. Health gained on companion hits. Wait, you gain health per companion hits? Sure. Okay. Increase health for you and your minions. Summon Spriggan and Stormcrows are converted to oh. Spriggan Thorn Volley gains +1 projectile and 10% more damage per summoned crow. So it kind of wants you to go Spriggan and Stormcrows, even though personally I would probably just go Fire Raptors and maybe Crows, because Raptors I would want to scale off of potentially Ignite or potentially its spell. If it's its spell, then the crow works really well and it scales linearly. If it's ignite, then I can use any other fire-based companion that works. Yeah, this is a good chest. I like it. It's nothing crazy though, but I'll take it. More is always more. Freed from his icy prison, the demigod Morditas rises to feed on violence, growing stronger with every drop of blood you spill. So this is Beyond. Is how I'm reading this. This sounds a lot like Beyond. And I guess because there's an icy prison, maybe it's mixed with Essence, but like sounds like Beyond, really. New endgame boss Morditas grows as you continue participating in the Rage of Morditas seasonal mechanic. Major item faction improvements. Major item faction, like, is this merchant guild? Is that what they mean? Imbue the player shield with light from above and project forward in a focus beam. Then Orbis. This system has expanded significantly from the early roadmap version that originally targeted a seasonal release. We decided to invest more resources into the system because of what we feel will bring into the game. We have already spent more than a year in development, and work on sigils will continue right up to the expansion content lock. Okay. The extensive optimization work required to bring last work to PlayStation 5 will also deliver performance improvements to PC players. All right, so we're done. If you haven't made those odds already, my guy, you're not making them anytime soon, but power to you. Power to you. My overall thoughts, I mean, you guys heard my overall thoughts. I think Last Epoch has a lot of potential. I don't really like what I'm seeing from the studio itself in terms of release cadence, in terms of addressing the things that matter in the overall scheme of things. Like, nothing I have read in this season 4 and season 5 sounds like insane new content feel to the end game, which I think is the thing that Last Epoch needs the most. I think a lot of its content currently feels very samey, and I think that's problematic. I think we need something that asides either monoliths or something, another way to interact with monoliths maybe, or like we need something that feels different, and it feels like they're just not clocking that that's what is needed, or maybe they're delaying it to Orbis. I don't know, but anyways, on March 20 whatever, we'll log in and we'll see how this is. If PoE, let's hope there's no PoE release around then. I don't think there's going to be any, because we're going to be waiting till April to get the next release for PoE 2. PoE 2. PoE 1 should be February, and then PoE 2 should be April-ish, May-ish. So we should have a nice pocket where it can release. We'll see. I have zero hype for this season simply because, well, it is a good 4 months away. So, you know, excuse the lack of hype for something that's in 4 months. We'll see when it's closer and if there's reason to be hype. But yeah, that's kind of what I think of of the roadmap. I think there's some important things and good steps in the right direction, but they have a lot to do, essentially. All right, now time for the interview. I actually wanted to play some PoE, if I'm being very honest with you. We're probably not going to finish this interview. It's a very, very long one, it looks like. A very long one. These timestamps were in there when I loaded this video, I think. I haven't seen Talkative in so long. Well, I didn't realize he had a a beard like that. Anyways, it's not even really a beard. Anyways, like I was saying, we'll watch the interview up until maybe I get bored. If I don't get bored, then we'll continue watching it. I might start running some maps in the background with it playing to just, and then commenting where I can. I mean, it's really nice that we have a pausing game, because I can also just lower my game volume, so we can actually pull that off. So we'll see. If it feels like kind of video that can that would support, I would do that.
Great. I have you muted right now. Wait, what's going on here? Why did I not have you populating for some reason? Let me grab you for a second. There we go. Excellent. Excellent. How you doing today?
Bright day in New Zealand.
Are you working remote today? Oh, okay. Oh, nice. Do you have a short commute or do you have a long one? Oh, that's nice. See, that's good. All right, let me carve you up and we'll get right started. There we go. Close chat as well, because it's flying. All right, we're gonna do an audio test and we'll get going. Here you go. Oh, all right. I just enabled your audio. You should be good to go.
All right. All good. All right.
How does he sound?
Hopefully everyone thinks it sounds all right. I've got my microphone just propped up on a box here, so hopefully it's, you know, I don't have a good audio setup in my, at home.
Oh, sure. He's at home.
We cannot hear you. Good, good. Okay, they're good. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Sounds good? All right. All right. I think we are good to go then. Sweet. All right, I will do a little bit louder. All right, I'll do a little bit louder. I'll do it via Discord. Right here. All right. All right, give me one more test for chat.
All right. Testing 1, 2, 3. I'm Jonathan Rogers, game director on PoE 2. That's what I normally say when I'm doing these.
Perfect. All right, perfect. All right.
Sounds good.
I'll do a silly YouTube intro and we'll hop right into it, man. Thank you for doing this as always. It's always a pleasure.
No problem.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hey, Exiles, welcome to yet another episode of the Still Sane podcast. I am here with the game director on Path of Exile 2, Jonathan Rogers, to talk all things 0.4, Fate of the Val, the last of the Druids. There's a lot packed into this update. But before we get to all that's packed into it, and many burning community questions on it, I did want to take a few minutes to talk about what's not packed into it, okay? And that's obviously the endgame, right? Endgame was slated to have a big revamp for 0.4.
Immune Harvest.
Pushed to 0.5. You guys were very upfront about that. Now, one question I've seen a lot in the community is, given in 0.3, you guys did push a good chunk of substantive endgame changes in that 0.1 update that ended up being pretty positively received. Do you know if there's any chance or opportunity for a 0.1 patch for 0.4 wherein you do make some endgame alterations?
We certainly could do that, but if we're doing that, it'll be because we're seeing feedback about, you know, more mechanical things as opposed to content. Like, one of the big things that we, like, you know, that's supposed to be coming for the end game is a lot more content stuff and, you know, change to the Atlas tree and that kind of thing. So I don't think we'd be doing that in like a 0.4.1 type update. It's more about, like, if there's something that's like going wrong with what we've got, or like, you know, things where we're like, you know, we're unhappy with, you know, the current way it's working. That's the kind of changes that we would then do in a 0.4.1. Yeah, but in terms of like content, those would usually be for the, you know, the larger kind of releases. So that's where we'll be seeing that.
That makes total sense and expected from me. Then the systems that you currently have implemented, the Arbiter of Ash, okay? He has this new reward to beating him. You unlock rare tablets so you can juice your maps a lot more than you could previously in 0.31. Now, the Arbiter,
that is an interesting thing to look behind Arbiter, by the way.
Still an RNG gated pinnacle boss. You have to go out from the middle of the Atlas. You got to find the citadels. And I got to say, just from my own personal experience and many anecdotes I've seen across, people will get to level 92, 93, pushing out, looking at the burning monolith, and they will not find the Arbiter. Do you guys have any changes planned there, especially now that he's locking behind such a substantial piece of endgame juicing content?
So I think that in 031 we did. I can't remember whether it was in 031 or whether it might have gone. We did improve the like the number of them quite a lot. It's actually like it is random right now, but it's the plan is to like. I mean, one of the things we want to do when we're improving the end game is we've talked before about how we want to improve the feeling of not having goals, and one of the ways to do that is to kind of questify some of the mechanics for like the various league mechanics and so on. So they've kind of got like predefined
that's us.
places where you can kind of do those things like at the start, right? So the idea would be like at the start there's kind of a quest line. It's going to tell you, you need to go here and do this, that kind of thing, and then it's only once you reach the end of that kind of quest line element that you would then get the sort of full random like stuff. And so that would mean that like for the first time that you fight a lot of this content, there'd be a predefined way to do that. The challenging part is kind of intermixing the kind of random elements of the end game in with like a kind of a more of a storyline type. You have to do this then that kind of thing. So that's kind of what we've got like going on. What we hope to do later, and that will mean that you no longer have that RNG element as much for some of that stuff that's sort of imperative to do. But the thing is that like I still don't want it to be that when you.
So does that mean? Oh, what the fuck is this map? Jesus, that's not a good place to start. Anyways, does that mean we might actually get like quests arbiter? Because if so, it could be. Oh, could be an interesting way to handle it. I'm not against it by any means.
Experience like the campaign, there needs to be an element of randomness to it. So it's really just a question of like how to kind of get those mixed elements. But yeah, one thing I can mention, I don't know if people know exactly how this works, but.
Oh god,
there are these like macro blocks in the
someone has the Invuln aura in here
that it uses, and within one of those we do guarantee actually how does it work exactly? There's something like there's an arbiter like out of one in every 2 macro blocks, and like within a macro block it's like a certain defined area. You're always going to find all three citadels. So like it's kind of like it's not fully random. Like we have sort of like toned down the randomness compared to how it was like right in the beginning. But I do understand you can still have a situation where like just due to unluckiness you kind of like go right between 2 of the blocks. You don't really know. I mean they're not obvious, right? So that can kind of mean that you can still feel quite unlucky, even though technically there's kind of a defined rate of them that you'll get.
Right. Okay. All right, yeah, I just know a lot of people are probably going to end up trading for fragments if they're playing the market and stuff like that. So
yeah.
hopefully with 0.5 we get the improved, like more like you said, streamlined for.
I think that you'll appreciate that the changes that are coming as far as like the Atlas story, as it were.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Exciting stuff. 0.5 is going to be good. Okay, a few more end game things that I just wanted to touch on here. There's also been a lot of.
This is so unlucky. What the fuck?
Greater zoom for the Atlas, since there's so many nodes and everything. Is there any plan on making that happen?
I do want to look into that pretty soon. One of the reasons we didn't do the zoom initially so much was just because of performance issues. I've been concentrating a lot on performance recently, so this is something that I could now probably look at again and see whether or not the performance is going to be better. There's still quite a lot to come there though with performance, and so honestly at this point I should probably check again and see what the performance is like if we allow greater zoom. It really is just a performance concern, so we can definitely do that. I mean there might be some clarity issues, but I'm sure we can solve that. I mean people have like got various hacks to allow zooming out extra and that kind of stuff, so therefore like it's not like too bad or anything. I mean, people do want it, so yeah, as long as we can get the performance of it fine, then it's probably fine to do.
A slight side tangent here. You mentioned you've been focusing a lot on the performance, and I know you also said that you coded the core system of Fate of the Val, the actual temple. Do you do a lot of the hands-on like coding with all these things right now?
I don't usually, but in this league, I did the Fate of the Val core like simulation, and then I did get a bit involved in the performance work, like. One of the things you can get in a game company is that like you've got all these specialists, right? And it's like here's a guy who's working on UI, and here's a guy who's working on gameplay, and here's a guy who's working on like core engine stuff, and it's like people can often lose focus on the larger picture because it's very easy to look at something and kind of be like, oh, okay, well this is the gameplay team needs to work about that, and so it's hard sometimes for someone with a more global look to come along and kind of say, okay, well if we look at all these together, what are the problems looked at as a larger system? And so that's when it can kind of be a bit useful for me to step in and be like, okay, like let's try to work out some kind of coordination here to actually try and find that stuff out. So if you want to like,
I forgot to do my breach in the last one.
Like what we did
not the underworld.
previously we, you know, like when you're rendering the game, you've got like and simulating the game, you've got like effectively a job system where you've got like, you know, here's the CPU cores that you've got, here's the jobs that we want to you know, to run on those cores. And previously we had this very ad hoc system where like, you know, this thing would queue some jobs and that thing would queue some jobs, and they all had their own synchronization of like when to know when was finished and when one wasn't and all that kind of stuff. And what I effectively did was write a like a job system that allows for kind of like creating a global view on like when to run things and so on. And then once you've got that, it's sort of easy to tell like this can run alongside this and this can't run alongside that and all that kind of thing. And you can effectively express all these dependencies. And then once we had that, then all the programmers in the various systems can then go and start, you know, putting things in there. And then everything now runs just a lot more concurrently than it did before. So the major change we had was just making it so that, yeah, we can take advantage of more of your CPU because we're running things concurrently that previously weren't allowed to run at the same time. And then, of course, there was also just other optimizations, just like, you know, hey, this is slow, that is slow. You know, we get spikes when you do this, you get spikes when you do that.
Right.
Just that kind of stuff, you know, that I just kept on pounding people, you know, like, no, we need to fix this, we need to fix this. And one of the other things as well is just really making sure that we never get a situation where a resource that's needed is not available at the point where we need it. So that's been something we've been focused on for quite a while now, actually, kind of getting all those things sorted out. And a lot of the time that's what leads to spikes, because you go and you use a skill and then like, oh, the texture for this wasn't loaded or whatever it is, and then now you have to wait for that to happen, and so you get a frame spike. So we're just like fixing all of those kinds of problems and generally improving that kind of thing.
Well, the baseline performance improvements look fantastic, and I know that was the #1 thing that people had a lot of problems with. Console.
Last league was very rough when it comes to performance.
But there's still a lot more to do. Like I know, like just even looking at what we've got, like there's quite a lot more that could be optimized. Like just on a more individual level. And it's still funny the way that you will find things like, you know, just to pick a random example, like we found out like a week ago or something that we were iterating through the whole UI 3 times every frame, you know, like that kind of thing. Where it's like you look at it and you're like, okay, that's not really very good, you know, like it doesn't matter that much. Like in the end, right, that particular thing only was like 0.3 milliseconds, right? It's not actually adding up to like a huge amount, but like in the, you know, it's like it's just lots of little things like that all add up to something which you know, is a problem, right?
Yeah.
So you go through things and you find them, you remove them one at a time, and you know, now a funny thing we actually ran into the other day is we actually ran into a problem that only reproduced when the FPS was too high. So we're like over 400 FPS, you actually start to get this kind of problem. And I'm like, that's not normally a problem that you normally run into.
I mean, over 400 is suffering from success.
Previously, we couldn't even achieve that kind of FPS.
Right.
So we never found that kind of problem before. And another funny thing about that one is it turns out that the code for that that was bugged went back to commit number 1632, which I did 18 years ago myself. It was a bug in my code from 18 years ago. It was like right in the depths of the code base. There was like a rounding problem with the that
Why give me purple though?
It was kind of funny to see that sort of stuff all the way back in the early history.
Okay, that's wild that you have the date, like the date's going all the way back then. You have everything
18 years.
We've got our version control just goes all the way back to the very first commit of the company from you know, from right from the beginning.
Very nice. Okay, and I know people. I know it's interesting though. Massive improvements. Thank you for the tangent. I appreciate it, Jonathan. Okay, swapping gears back to PoE 2 specifically. So another question that a lot of people have about PoE 2's end game is the severe punishment for death. Okay, we have minus XP. We have the inability to use tablets on map nodes. We lose any special things.
We've already know wilted.
And now we're losing our limbs that we earn in the temple. So a lot of people are wondering, does it need to be that punishing? Is there any room to like relax a tad on it? I do think there should be some punishment, but what's your opinion on this?
So, I mean, it comes down to all of those things have different purposes that are kind of important. So, the XP penalty obviously would be the main one that people would, you know, like want to chat about. And effectively, that one, it is important to me that there is a reason why you can't just build entirely glass cannon. And if we didn't have the XP penalty in in-game maps, you wouldn't you'd just be able to do that. Now, in PoE 2, we obviously removed the penalty that we used to have in PoE 1 during the campaign, and that's because there really wasn't a thing that was giving us, right? So if you're going to have a penalty for death, it needs to be like achieving some kind of gameplay goal, and here what we want to do is actually make...
Imagine if we get this one to no wilt.
And not just have it
that actually, if only this was yellow too.
Element of like you do need to actually build defenses if you want to get to level 100, and I think probably the major reason why we see a lot of pushback about this is because the community often have an expectation that getting to level 100 is a thing that you should be doing. But like we've never seen it that way because it's kind of like, okay, level 100 is supposed to be the thing that like only the like top people actually do. But I think that what you've had a situation where there's a lot of games where getting to max level is kind of like not.
I mean, we have passing points locked into getting to level 100, you know.
Like traditional MMOs
So it's always nice
like that, right? Like getting
to
max
have
level
it.
is just like table stakes to even begin the end game in a lot of those a lot of those cases. So because we're not like that, because the ladder is actually competitive, and because you you know have a thing where yeah, you're not necessarily expected to reach that to kind of finish the game, as it were. It just sort of means that there's a bit of a different situation. So I think some of it can just come down to, like, you know, what are we doing to communicate the fact that level 100 doesn't have to be your actual final goal. You know, and it, like, to be honest, like the last few levels,
Please don't
like,
wilt.
from like 96 or something.
Dude,
to
of
100,
all wants
it's
to
not like you're getting a huge
wilt.
amount of power for doing that, right? Like an extra 4 passives. It's not like the hugest deal. Like you get a much larger amount of power from just like all the other stuff you're doing.
Shit is
So
rigged.
that's what that penalty is doing. Now the map, removing the stuff in the maps penalty, the specific problem that's solving is that we don't want it to be that there's an incentive to kill yourself and fail the map on purpose in order to re-get some of the rewards in the map. So effectively what we do is remove all the rewards in the map once you die, specifically just to prevent the kind of item farming abuse that we'd otherwise have there. So it's not like I want that penalty per se, it just fixes the exploit you'd otherwise have. So if we had another way to address that, then we would just not do that.
Stop. Wait, chill. Is this talking about the one where it removes all the content from the map you are currently in? Not because, like, it's one thing to say, oh, I failed this map. Now I don't get to rerun the map or whatever. But if I die, you remove all the content to leaving the boss doesn't make sense to me personally, especially if it's something like ritual where, oh, I was doing the ritual, I got to like 3, maybe I die, now I can't even buy the things I was supposed to buy. Like that doesn't make sense to me. It makes
Just
zero
again,
sense.
Stuff in the maps,
Like even as a combat to exploit, like it makes zero sense. Like at least if you want to do that, just have it be the exact same way it was before you died. I don't think there's a worry about anything duping there, and I don't think it's even a worry unless it's like you fail the map and then you come back into said map with the same modifiers. Like then sure.
Like the hugest deal, like you get a much larger amount of power from just like all the other stuff you're doing. So that's what that penalty is doing. Now the map, removing the stuff in the maps penalty, the specific problem that's solving is that we don't want it to be that there's an incentive to kill yourself and fail the map on purpose in order to re-get some of the rewards in the map.
But that's if you fail.
What we do is remove all the rewards in the map once you die, specifically just to prevent that kind of item farming abuse that would otherwise.
But that is assuming you fail the entire map. We are talking about, oh, I just died in this map once. Why would you take all my mechanics away? That one doesn't make sense to me. Like I can fully understand, oh, I failed the map, like I used all my portals, and I still died. Okay. Yeah, I get that one. Like, yeah, removed everything. Cool. But like, huh? You don't have to reset my map. You can just leave it in the exact same. Pure one doesn't reset your map. So what is this new problem you're introducing that doesn't really exist? Like, I don't get that. Like this, I don't understand. Anyways.
Otherwise have there. So it's not like I want that penalty per se, it just fixes the exploit you'd otherwise have. So if we had another way to address that,
if it genuinely feels like a made up problem
to that particular thing.
Right.
So I mean that's sort of an example of thing. Now the limb thing, I just thought it would be a cool.
It's cool.
We just thought it would be a cool thing. Like that was just like it's just one league. Like I just thought it would be sort of fun thing. I do like occasionally having like quirky and out there mechanics. So yeah, that's what that one's about.
Yeah, that one was a little jokey. I did have one other one that I wanted to touch on too that I didn't include in that list. So when people juice maps now in PoE 2, the more mods equals the less portals. When you have maximum number of mods on your waystone, you get 1 portal. Do you think that might be a tad too punish? Like would you ever swap it to 2 portals? So you do have a little bit of leeway if you're going full in, 6 mods, corrupted, everything, or no? You like the max punishment there?
11K
the fact that you go down to 1 life.
purple.
Like the hardest content is 1 life exactly. I guess the thing there is once again like there's the expectation. Like I would hope that most people towards the end game aren't dying most of the time. And really, there's a bit of a communication element here too that we're trying to do, which is to communicate the idea that if the maps are too hard for you, then maybe run less mods on them, right? Like make it less hard for yourself so that you get a little bit of that sort of easier time. And so my hope is that can kind of is the thing that gets communicated by that by that element.
Here's the problem with this argument in general, is that things can kill you that have nothing to do with, that are outside your control. You can have a disconnect, you can have lag, you can have whatever, your frames die, whatever the case may be. There are even things that you can't see, one shots that maybe having rendered or whatever. There are things that can kill you that you have zero control. And I'm speaking from experience in the Abyss League. There are so many times like, why the fuck is this moving? The fuck is this? Anyways, there are so many times like I died while at like 0 FPS or something. So like, because of the fact that I'm having lag, something happens and then my character and I die, obviously. This is why I personally never ran 6 mod, because I don't like the idea of it. But then the biggest problem with this idea currently is that locked behind that 6 portal is your last tablet slot. That is the problem. If you locked it behind 5 mods, I personally would never run 6 mods. Personally, I don't care about the last mod that much. But the fact that you lock that last tablet slot behind there, that is the problem, in my opinion.
I guess it's not been something that's particularly come up for me as a problem recently, so I guess it's one of those things that I'd have to maybe have another think about. But yeah, it's not really on my radar as like that being a particular thing as a problem for people.
I'm curious. A lot of people were wondering if you were going to stream your gameplay at any point. Is that something that's still in the cards? I know you mentioned.
You know, so I actually was
JP interview.
I was pretty keen on that, and I was actually talking to another streamer recently about it, and he was sort of saying that he didn't think it was actually a good idea in practice, and the reason is because, like the way I would treat it would be like it's like a good time where I can just enjoy myself and like, you know, have a gaming session. But what he was saying is what people will treat that as is like judging me continuously for every single minor thing. It's
yes,
like,
my man.
if I don't pick up an item or if I just like don't, you know, over there, I'm going to be completely judged by that. And he was sort of saying you really shouldn't do that because all it's just going to result in is like random those kinds of issues. And I feel sad about that because honestly, I would love to just have a good time, just like, you know, having a chat to someone, playing the game, you know, that kind of thing. But he was saying like you're probably gonna regret.
I mean, he's not wrong.
So yeah, I'm not so sure about that one, unfortunately, due to that reason. But
he's not wrong, but it's unfortunate.
So,
but he's not wrong. He's actually not wrong.
You didn't have the issue. Have you been playing like some of the end game? I know in the past you said you mostly play the campaign and then reset when you're testing.
Yeah, I do mostly play campaign and then don't go like play much of the end game. And the reason is because mostly what I'm playing is I'm playing at home on the dev build. I'm like testing a new character, that kind of stuff. So I don't often get a chance to play much of the end game stuff. Now the person who does do that a lot is Mark. Like Mark plays the end game a lot, and usually he's playing multiplayer as well because he wants to make sure that all the multiplayer issues get tested because usually in QA, you know, like multiplayer specific problems don't come up a lot. Because, you know, like they're obviously all testing individual things or whatever. So by testing multiplayer, you can actually make sure that we don't have, you know, kind of catastrophic issues. And a lot of them come up, like, and especially more subtle ones, like along like with bosses and things like that, because, you know, like bosses need to have AI specifically for multiplayer and that kind of thing. And, you know, you don't necessarily got a lot of opportunity to test that in the normal office environment.
Right.
Okay, the fuck is this?
Great. Let's move on to, I think, one of the most controversial topics of the entire patch. One that I was so pumped about when I first heard. I think it came out of, I think it was Mark's mouth. Okay, 40% reduced monster density in endgame maps.
I knew it. Yeah,
that was a big change that was made. I played a ton of 0.3 and I had a great time, but after that patch, I had seen the game as moving a lot more toward the Path of Exile 1 identity. You're zooming through maps, you're blowing up screens of mobs, there's not a lot of engaging combat going on in the end game, and I was like, okay, you know, that's fine, whatever, they'll kind of morph into the same game eventually. And then when I read through the patch notes and when I saw your guys' presentation for 0.4 and you said that line, I was like, oh my gosh, they're trying to build, you know, more visual clarity back into the game. They're trying to maybe make combat more engaging. Could you break down what your goals were with that? I know you talked about swarming. Was it more beyond that, or is it just the swarming thing?
So I mean, I guess there's several issues, right? So
Yeah.
one of them is the swarming for sure, just like the problem where like a lot of people were very unhappy about that. I do think that it was too much. Like I think in fact the numbers were just wrong from the start. Like we just for whatever reason got that incorrect with the monster pack stuff we did in endgame. The issue that we had, of course, was like, nerfing this is controversial, like 100%. I mean, like I say nerfing, but it's like it isn't so much a nerf exactly, right? Like there's still the same amount of life you have to kill from monsters. It's a question of whether it's distributed from multiple monsters or not. And I think the issue that we really had was just that we were limiting the number of builds that were viable at endgame.
Right.
Like kind of unintentionally, right? Because you had like there was just a minimum amount of kind of AoE clearing you had to do to make it work.
So I'm going to
And so we wanted
risk
make it
my
so that
yellows.
You can play a spammy build.
Oh,
You can
07.
also play a build that like concentrates on bigger hits that are smaller in AoE. Like both of those things should be allowed. And the current way it was just kind of wasn't really allowing for that. Now, because of the Atlas tree, and especially what we'll do.
Oh
later
my
on,
lord!
there's, like,
What is this
and
RNG?
just, like, general speaking, you can add more monsters, you can get more of that stuff, right?
Oh god, there's an
that can still
invulnerable
happen.
in somewhere
So
in
I
there.
don't think that it's going to end up being, like something where you just feel like monster density is like, like you don't. I don't want anyone to ever be thinking like, "Where's the monsters?" Right? You don't want that.
Nice.
It still needs to be that like you still. You still want to be at endgame blasting some monsters. It's
Right.
just that you really need to have it so that it isn't so overwhelming that a person who like is so that you don't
Where
want everyone to
mobs.
feel pushed into, okay, I can only play like the biggest AoE, like lightning spear, this kind of stuff, type of thing, right? Or, like whatever is the most spammy. So that's really the key goal there. I think we're gonna have to look at it again, like now that we've got another playthrough here, and like with all the people and see how that goes. But yeah, I mean that's the basic idea behind it.
Okay. Question about the packs and everything.
Ooh.
I think there's 40% less monster packs. That also mean there's less rare monsters, or is the number of rare monsters and maps the same as
No,
before?
the number of rares is the same. So we didn't reduce the number. We didn't reduce the number of packs. We reduced the number of monsters in a pack, and that, by the way, like the way that's done is by there's this system called effectiveness, which is basically every monster has like a budget of how much. Like how much they are worth, as it were, as a monster, in terms of like how, and it sort of loosely correlates into how damaging they are, but it also translates into lots of other factors, so like how much do they drop, how much experience do they give, all these kinds of things. And effectively, what we did is reduce the effectiveness per pack to be lower, so that like the individual packs can be smaller. Now that can still be grown again by mods and all the things. Like, so when you add extra monsters with mods, what that's doing is it's increasing the effectiveness budget that a pack has, so that the pack can grow larger.
Oh,
But
that
it doesn't
isn't how
actually change the
PoE 1
number of
works.
packs, which is what controls things like how many rare monsters you get and that kind of thing. Because there's usually
I assume so.
there's only one rare per pack usually.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How does it interact with league mechanics like ritual, wherein the more monsters you have, like the more ritual favor you get? Have you guys thought
so
about
ritual numbers were balanced basically to counteract this. So like it's just like basically, because the goal is not to nerf rewards here. The goal is to keep those the same. So therefore, anything like that's going to care about something like that, we just adjust the numbers to kind of like sort that out.
that? Okay, exciting. All right. Now, with this change, where there's less monsters per pack, maybe the packs have a little bit more identity. You're supposed to maybe engage with them a tad more. I had a conversation with Neversink last night about rare monsters and how originally they were going to have a bigger identity in PoE 2.
Right.
And right now, rare monsters are completely enveloped by the modifiers on them. I think we saw this really well with Abyss, where, oh my goodness,
Yeah,
some of those Abyssal
I do
rare
remember
monster
something
modifiers
like
were
that.
killing me.
Where it was supposed to be a case of rare monsters specifically would have like certain modifiers or certain move sets and whatnot that non-rare monsters wouldn't have, and you typically can't tell a rare monster by just looking, right? And I think this is just not the case in current PoE 2. So good question, I think.
Do you see a world in which PoE 2 maybe returns to that age where each rare monster is going to be, kind of special? Maybe it's like a 3-4 second fight where you care about the monster.
I don't know about that
care
one,
so much about
Chief.
the modifiers on the rare monster.
I do want to make rares more interesting and identified like that. It's just the issue with that is that it's really hard to get time for a change like that, which doesn't see as much immediate return. So it's one of those things where, like, once we get a bit of time, we can do something like that. And what I sort of suspect is we'll probably have like a launch at some point where like that's a big focus and we make it into a feature and like we try to like make sure there's something there. But it's kind of like it probably won't be soon. Like I certainly don't think it would be before full release, because it's something that we kind of can't I think, justify while we're also trying to make, well, in particular, right, like we need all the people working on monsters to be working on, Acts 5 and 6 and that kind of stuff. So, like there's that's the issue that we'd face trying to do a change like that right now.
Every monster needs the Death Knight treatment. Come on, we want all the monsters to have special abilities.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question a little bit on visual clarity. So environmental clarity, so monsters and like a monster ability seem to have been addressed a little bit in this patch in 0.3.1. How about character visual clarity or skill clarity? I remember so vividly listening to you guys. I think you and Chris talk about, oh, in Path of Exile 2, you'll be shooting 10 arrows instead of 100, but the 10 arrows will have the effectiveness of the 100.
Right.
In PoE 2, it seems like it's kind of jumped the shark already. We're already in this patch, and you're able to do that with Twister builds, some lightning arrow builds. Do you see that as something you want to allow or something you want to rein in eventually?
It is a very tricky balance for sure, but look, we are trying to improve the the worst cases, right? So I mean, there was that. I'm seeing some video of like Ziz, like where he's like doing his flashbang build, and then he puts his dark glasses on, right? It's like that's the thing we really don't want to be, really don't want to be required. So I know that there were changes to cluster grenades.
His sunglasses
so that
build.
wasn't much of a problem. I think that they split. I think they split the functionality of the Nova projectiles thing to kind of like make it so that was a little bit less crazy. Like we do sort of adjust it where we need to adjust it. And like I know that there'll still be more that we can do as well. Like there's still more temporal culling stuff we can do, which is like a new culling system where we can add things in to make things a little bit less spammy. There's stuff like that going on. Like just a couple of days ago we were fiddling around a bit with the ice explosions, the shatter effect, because that was like a performance problem people had. Like I mostly was caring about performance when I was looking into that, but like there's things like that we can do to kind of just improve stuff. And by the way, the shatter effect should no longer be a performance problem. It's like now cheaper than the monster that got shattered, so that's good.
So, shatter effect? Did you heard of ice?
But I mean, it's like really, I think that's just you don't want to ruin the fun for people either. So I think that in a way as well, the monster density change will affect this because it's going to require less spam to be effective necessarily anyway. So, like you'll kind of get that situation where that sort of improves. But look, I just don't want to be seen as like, okay, we're just going to nerf everything, right? Like we are going to do targeted nerfs. We have been doing that. But the thing is as well is that like, people sometimes don't appreciate the fact that the way the stuff gets out of control is not necessarily predictable by us. Like it's to do with the combining overlap of like many different things that sort of come together as like, oh, now this is really easy to do. And like usually when we've seen situations where the spam could be high, we've kind of been like, okay, sure, it's possible to spam this thing.
Yes,
see what
that's
limits
nice.
the player are. But we've always been of the opinion when we can see that and we can test that in advance that, but no one would do that because like for this reason or other reason, the damage is going to be low. It's not actually going to be worth doing. And so then the trouble has been that like someone finds a way to make the damage good.
All right, well, we have at least 3 plots of yellow.
Now suddenly there is an advantage to doing this like crazy spam. And so that's always kind of been the thing that's taken us a bit by surprise with some of these balance things. So really that just comes down to better balance and just improving, a lot of those things. But I do
3 no wilds.
Like, there's still concerns around visual clarity. I mean, so like another one, right, was like ground fire can be annoying and that kind of stuff. Like there's certain things that can like be really spammy and kind of bad. And we probably change.
Dude, that was 4 T3s.
But the issue once again there is that I don't want it to turn into like maybe this is a bit of a deep reference, but you don't want it to turn into the kind of like Quake 3 scene of like just textures to nothing and all that kind of stuff, right? Like you do want like some level of
oh god,
of
crush claws,
reasonable. So
behave.
Yeah, it's just a tough balance, and we just like have to slowly grind out and get there.
I'm sure you've seen or heard the feedback about maybe implementing a visual opacity slider for player character effects.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of that kind of thing. Because
I was waiting for it.
Look, I understand the desire for it, but I do think that it's better just to like fix skills individually until you get to the point where it's not a problem anymore. Just making everything invisible, I'm just like not a fan of. I really don't like it in games when like something happens and you don't see it. And like also, by the way, just turning there are a lot of effects. If you made them transparent, they would suddenly be very expensive. Just as a random side note, since transparencies do cost more than opaque things in computer
really
graphics.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's because you have to draw 2 things in that one spot, right? Like if something's transparent, you have to draw all the things of it that are there. But if something's opaque, then the thing behind it is not drawn anymore.
Oh wow, okay, interesting. Nice. All right.
Interesting. I actually didn't know
another
that.
brief density question here that people have asked about. And I know you already mentioned that you don't want people to feel like this, but there's a lot of worry that the game is going to turn into a walking simulator now that the packs are this much smaller.
Well,
and that there's
certainly it's not going to be that.
not
It's just not going to be that, right? Like
It's not.
it's just not going to be that. I mean, in the early in game,
Oh,
or
I
like,
don't.
towards the
Totally.
end game.
I don't
Right.
feel that at all. No.
Right. Well, then there you go. Right. I mean, it is only like it hasn't been nerfed below that. Like it's not like it gets like lower. over
But
time. Like,
TLI
I mean,
did
it's-
it.
It just doesn't.
And I think
Go.
one thing that's not in the 0.4 patch notes that was in 0.3.1.
I mean, the thing about TLI and its transparency slider is TLI is a much higher performance game than PoE 2. And this is not to slight PoE 2. TLI has way less to worry about in terms of graphics and, visual depth than PoE 2. So I can understand why it's way more performant, why its performance is way higher. But that being said, I'm just on defense of like the visual slider conversation, because I want there to be a visual slider in the sense of I think it should be optional if we see the ability or not. But at the exact same time, I understand where Jonathan is coming from. It's one of those situations where if you don't want us to have, if you don't want us to have a slider we can just turn transparent, then you guys are going to have to do a better job at giving us clarity. Like, for real. How do you talk about clarity and then release tornado twisters as they are, as thick and as visually obscuring as they are? Like, how does that work? So I think it's a case of they have to pick a struggle. You either die on the hill of no slider and then just make skills easier to see, or like they said earlier, less overlapping effects that do the same thing. Increase the AoE of each lightning arrow and reduce the number you need. I mean, that I don't see how that works realistically, unless they do some really, really janky stuff or something. I don't know. Either way, stuff like that. Like, you either make it so there's way less clutter and we don't need a slider, or you'd make it so we have the slider. Because how long are we going to keep hearing if we're doing our job right? Like, my guy, at some point you have to look yourself in the mirror and say you're not doing your job right or something in that conversation. Because there is clearly a disconnect between wanting visual clarity and introducing twisters, in my opinion. Same thing with the flashbang builds. Like, you can't be releasing stuff like that and then say you want.
Were reduced by a tremendous degree. So maybe some people who might have bounced, they don't recall that. So I think everything is scaled a little bit down too. You mentioned targeted nerfs a second ago, so I want to skip ahead in my question list.
11,
talk
8.
about something that is on everyone's minds. One of my friends said,
Dude, this map is insane.
The Roa. Okay, I'm not a Roa enjoyer at all. I can't get.
Why don't you want to remove the Roas?
I'm not an enjoyer. Lots of people are Roa enjoyers. But Jonathan, can you give me like a dissertation on how the Roa is a balanced thing in PoE 2 right now?
Right. Well, I will preface this by saying that I'm not primarily a balanced person. Like, there really is more Mark's domain, but at least the Roa, for whatever reason, the Roa got buffed when the sprint came out, and like that was kind of wrong. So like that's getting undone. It's kind of now back to just being normal movement speed again.
They said for some reason.
Also, I think
Wait. They said for some reason, wasn't this a situation where they actually announced that the Roas changed during the reveal? Like, this was something that was not just in the patch notes, they said it. Or am I bugging? Like, I visually remember them talking about
like,
this.
It shouldn't necessarily be the case that like it's completely mandatory to actually play. But I mean, yeah, look, it's powerful.
My
right,
guy,
for
yeah, your
sure.
soul data should calm down.
But like, I don't necessarily think it's going to be across. Like, I think it's capable of being balanced. Like, I don't think there's a problem there. If you get the right spirit cost, you get the right numbers. But I think the key important thing is just that it does. I don't think anything less than 100%. Like, I don't think anything less than having it be that you stay at exactly your normal move speed when you use it will feel fast. So that's kind of why it needs to have that element of it at least. But yeah, I think it's just a question of just make sure the cost is right, and then it should be okay. Yeah, like as I said, it has had some balance adjustments in 0.4.
Yeah, movement speed's very powerful in PoE too. So I mean, people are blasting screens with the row up.
Rotation be like
rolling into combat up in melee. So okay.
I mean, I don't necessarily think that the warrior has an exact problem with that. I think it's more just that you had the dominant build being the lightning arrow stuff. So like you just ended up being kind of feeling that way. But then on the other hand, like the next meta will shift, and then you'll find the warrior is the best. And I'm sure that since the druids have so much attention,
let's do it.
The druid will end up being a pretty common one in 0.4.
Do you think Druid's going to be meta, Jonathan? Do you think it's going to be like busted? People are going to find some crazy interactions?
I think that it's very likely just because of the fact that it's had so much attention. Like, and I mean, so right now, the thing that we're kind of doing this week a lot is like testing in-game viability of like as many things as we can do. So we're trying to make sure that like, okay, so for example, right, like we were looking, we're like, okay, the like minion stuff with all the wolves, it's just not really kind of working in an in-game context. And like, now we're like, okay, let's try to add some support to the tree to make it happen, right? So now, for example, we just added a keystone, which is that you can use.
Excuse me, let's go back. I heard wolves and I heard minions.
Right? Like we were looking, we're like, okay, the like minion stuff with all the wolves, it's just not really kind of working in an in-game context. And like now we're like, okay, let's try to add some support to the tree to make it happen, right? So now, for example, we just added a keystone, which is that you can use a scepter with a talisman to get spirit as an animal. But then the keystone downside is that you got minus 50% spirit. So you kind of have to like, like you still like, so you can't quite necessarily get as many minions as a minion character would have. But it kind of like lets you do a, it makes that from a spirit perspective possible to do like minion stuff. As a druid, as an animal, to get the kind of like pack leader wolf build working. And the other thing we did was he said, okay, there's a
that's not bad. Wait. Pack leader wolf build. That means wolves have reserve spirits, but that doesn't make sense unless they're permanent. So it's either a situation where they can be permanent and they can be temporary depending on how they're built, or maybe they're just a 30 reservation type thing, like the swarms. Those are like the only two different things I can think about that would make sense in this regard. And personally, I'd rather they were just permanent and add the whole revive to them and everything. The worst outcome would be, they're permanent, but you have to resummon them whenever they die or something. That'd just be ass. Let's hope not.
There's a notable that will make it so that your rage bonuses apply to.
All right, let's see how many we got,
so that you can get, like actually get the damage to a good place.
Dude, are you seeing this?
With your wolves and that kind of stuff, right? So we're like,
21k in one map.
The individual builds that someone might want to try and be like, okay, let's try and make sure that there's support in the tree for that kind of stuff. So that's really what a lot of this week is kind of going into, just those kind of like, just make sure that there's the options there for someone, and that might be a unique, it might be a keystone, it might be a notable, like just try to make sure there's something there that can make.
By the way, if you add these two, you already have 31k just from this one map.
So that's kind of it just making sure there's that in-game scaling.
That's exciting. I think I heard Gazzy from across the Atlantic like howling when you said those two keystones.
Right.
About the druids and minions, there's just wolves, right? It's the wolf pack. Does it require spirits to reserve?
In terms of the ones, in terms of the ones that come with you. So you have you've actually got a so there's two ways to get wolves. You've got the
I'm here. I'm listening.
Gem, the spirit gem. That
before we talk, what the fuck is this yellow juice price? You're telling me yellow juice is 2.7k per divine? Holy. Meanwhile, life blue has lost value, purple has lost value, still same value. People are fucking gambling. It dropped. What do you mean it dropped? That's higher price. it's better for harvest farmers that the price is that it's you're giving up less for each divine. So like instead of having to give 34,000 for 10 divines, you're not giving 27,000. You're saving 7k per divine per 10 divines you get. So you make more as a harvest farmer because the price of yellow juice is higher. The price didn't drop, it went up. All right, back to the minion stuff.
So you have you've actually got a so there's two.
That means in that one map, I got about almost 8 divines in just yellow juice, and then probably like a divine in blue juice. So 9 divines from that map.
Ways to get wolves. You've got the what's it called, the reservation.
That's why we play prop rotation.
That gives you a pack, and that gives you up to 6 wolves that respawn like a normal minion.
Right.
Okay, so they're permanent wolves.
The mark, where when you kill monsters, it summons a wolf, and with that one you can get like another, I don't know, 10, 15, like bunch more.
Geez.
So you can have like a pretty sizable pack if you if you're going for that. But yeah, it's just a question of making sure the stats of them can actually get to.
So they want you to have both of these? I mean, I can see a situation where you mark and then the wolf kills and that summons more wolves, maybe. But like, huh? Why are we doing this?
The mark, what's it called, the reservation. So there's 2 ways to get wolves. You've got the what's it called, the reservation gem, the spirit gem, that gives you a pack, and that gives you up to 6 wolves that respawn like a normal minion. Right. And then you've got the mark, where when you kill monsters, it summons a wolf, and with that one you can get like another, I don't know, 10, 15, like bunch more.
Geez.
So you can have like a pretty sizable pack if you're going for that. But yeah, it's just a question of making sure the stats of them can actually get to like reasonable levels compared to other minion builds. To make sure that's viable.
Okay. Do you see more animal companions coming in the distant future?
I mean, I'm down.
The game is shipped?
We could.
That sounds decent.
Could potentially do more of that stuff. I mean, like, there's still plenty of other minion things going on, kind of adjacent, right? So you've got any kind of int minion stuff going on. Obviously, it's not in theme with the Druids so much, but yeah, like we could probably do some more animals. But for the time being, we didn't think we really needed more to sort of make the Druid work. And like, the Druid isn't primarily a minion build, right? Like, it really is only the case if you're doing that whole kind of pack leader fantasy. That's like the main minion fantasy you'd have as a Druid. So yeah, that we want to make sure at least sure that one was working.
Oh yeah, yeah. It looks sweet.
Second class citizens.
Amazing. So I think I'm gonna gravitate toward that eventually after I try out the bear.
All of your other
Second class citizens. On the one hand, they say we like doing things because they're cool. Then on the other hand, they say we had to make the pack leader fantasy, so that's working. So we don't really need more. The duality of man.
Other wolves that you have, by the way, turn into snow wolves when you turn into a snow wolf. So like your whole pack gets the upgrade. So it's kind of cool.
Attention to detail.
Wait. I mean, I don't know if they'll get any boss with it, but
all right. We're going to go back to a little bit of game balance / identity. This is, I think, the #2 other thing that people have just been piping up about, and that is charge generation, charges, and totems. Okay, Jonathan, so lay it on us. Why did you guys decide to go with this design of spell totems and ancestor totems in PoE 2, where you require the 3 charges to summon them and upkeep them? What's going on there? Because a lot of people...
The main thing that I don't want is for it to turn into a situation where basically any spellcaster build is a totem build. Like, I don't want it to be that just totems are just strictly superior to spellcasting. That's kind of important. So that's the main thing. And the charges were just a good way to kind of make it so that, like, okay, if you're going totems, if you want to do totems as your primary thing, what we want to be doing is providing ways to get there by, like, there are uniques that are available that can, fix that problem for you. Like, you can do a totem build, and in fact, we are going to be showing so we're actually going to make a video about like a bunch of in-game builds for Druid pretty soon. Just to kind of show like people like, okay, really? here's some just viable things that you can make. Just like made by our design team of that you can do things. And that's not to say those are all the builds or they're even the best builds. They're just, here's some builds that our design team decided to come up with to show off at in-game. And,
that's not a bad idea. That's a good substitute for Jonathan streaming, actually. I'd still prefer to see Jonathan stream, but that's a good substitute.
Totem build, like, you can do it, and it's completely viable. You just need to use the uniques and various mechanics around doing it. So At the same time, the other thing as well is that I want using charges to feel like it gives you a significant bonus. Otherwise, they just feel pointless, right? Like if it just, certainly shouldn't be just a thing where like you don't. Okay, put it this way: you just need to make sure that like the first time you get a charge and then you use it, it feels like a significant upgrade over the base skill.
Right.
Now, in order for that to happen, there needs to be a certain level of difficulty in order to attain them. So yeah, we just need to make sure there's a certain cost there. And it actually has been pretty hard to design the mechanics in such a way where it's like you can do it all the time, but also it doesn't feel like you just get them for doing nothing. Like it's kind of that tough balance to strike there. And so that's what we're really trying to do. So yeah, I mean, really, it just comes down to those elements, right? Like just don't make it so that every spellcaster is a totem build. That's like a hard challenge to even meet even by itself, right? Because not having to cast the spells is like a pretty substantive benefit to have. So there needs to be some kind of cost there.
And I'll call it out because I've played for a very long time. In PoE 1, all the best spell builds were totem builds, and I always was like, oh man, I want self cast to be fun. Like it just feels better when you're playing. It's like something.
Surely he's not talking about now, right? I remember the last totem build actually saw that was giga meta. Even explosive arrow isn't meta anymore. So he must have been talking about some time in the past.
I guess kind of hard to describe, but there's something different about actually casting the spell, controlling where it goes instead of just boop, popping up your totem, running around in circles. So yeah, okay.
So the other benefit you do get though is that effectively the spell totem can serve as an ultimate type ability for people who aren't speccing entirely into that way of playing. So effectively what you get there is, and there's actually something sort of interesting that we've been looking at in a few cases. So for example, the Wyvern Flame Blast, in its kind of default incarnation. So this is just aside from totems, right? Yeah. So this is the one where the Wyvern flies up and starts burninating everything. So in its sort of default incantation of that, it's an ultimate really. You should be using it as like a boss ability if you get the opportunity. Like you heavy stun the boss, you start burning it, and the way that one works, by the way, is that it actually stacks ignites that add together. So unlike other ignite. In the game, which you have to do a big hit. Yeah. This is a type of ignite where, like, every time you hit them, the ignite grows and grows and grows and grows. So, like that one there is like a kind of interesting thing with that particular thing. So it actually works really well against.
Surely they give minions an ignite like that, right?
But we also wanted to make sure that ability,
an early style ignites.
You can do a build which is going to get you to the point where you're just like burninating like the whole map, like you're just continuously flying around in the air for ages. I need to
doing things, but cap my chances stun.
This unique, and you need like a few
my chances to avoid stun.
Doing that, it does require a little bit of effort, but the key thing is we want to make sure it is possible to use an ultimate ability as a clearing skill should you really want to go down that route.
So you can use it as a totem
to get to the point of you're doing things, but it does take you need this unique, and you need like a few things like to get around in the air for ages doing things, but burninating like the whole map, like you're just continuously flying around in the air for ages doing things, but it does take you need this unique, and you need like a few things like to get to the point of you're doing that. It does require a little bit of effort, but the key thing is we want to make sure it is possible to use an ultimate ability as a clearing skill should you really want to go down that route. It's just not the default case, as I said.
Okay.
Oh, and by the way, with that ignite thing, just because I saw you were kind of reacting interestingly to that, we are going to change incinerate to use that system as well. So yeah, like it's a kind of a
minion ignites buff when.
I was going to ask if it was going to roll out to some other skills to change up how ignite works, because people
they can't do it after blights. I mean, I was about to. I wasn't sure what I was going to keep farming, but like at these prices, I mean, crop rotation is still giga.
A word I've never heard this before, but I heard you say
it's probably just. It's probably just early internet. There was a
burning it
video from a flash animation actually from a long time ago. Don't even worry about it. No one should really have to worry about it. It's just
just really brief question while we're talking about the Wyvern. Does Black Flame Covenant work with it or not? Because we saw it was like an attack based gem on the gem, and Black Flame Covenant works with spells only, so I think I'm thinking the interview.
I think I mistakenly thought that it did at one point and said something about that, but I think it probably doesn't because it's not a spell. So yeah, it is an attack. Yeah.
Is there any way in the future there would be a keystone where we could get the same sort of thing?
I'll have to think about that. We were thinking. Well, no, whatever. I won't talk about that.
Oh, you can leak it. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. Okay, I appreciate that. All right. Yeah, that totem one. One more follow up on it. Generating charges in boss fights. Is that something that people are going to be easily able to do? Because that's one of the big complaints that I saw. That I know you just said you'll be able to do a soul totem build, so it must be possible. There's just a few pieces in place.
Sure. But then in terms of just the general way as well, we've got things like that are a little bit like in the kind of more game options. For
yeah,
that. Well,
thank you.
Early game, really. You've got things like Wing Blast that can generate charges, and like so. For example, what we're doing with that is like during regular clearing, it only generates charges very occasionally. For boss fights, you'll generate 3 charges when you use it on a prime for stun monster. So you can do that sort of. But as I said, in that context, it's more of an ultimate type ability. So if you want to do the kind of like pure totem build, you're going to need to find a solution to that isn't just in the like base skill set. It's going to involve supports and uniques and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, moving over to a melee focus.
All these codes, bridal tech we've been seeing.
The melee skills were first developed, I believe the game didn't have WASD implemented, so a lot of movement was baked into the skills to make them feel really good. And then when WASD was implemented, you guys went back and you added movement to a lot of the ranged-based or spellcasting skills, but the movement is still baked into the melee skills. Do you guys see a world where you could go back and you could add moving while attacking to some of these melee-based skills? Because it does feel so much, I just got to say, it feels so much better when you can maintain full control of your character throughout the course of a skill animation.
A couple of things with that. So for range, moving while attacking feels good, but for melee, what you actually end up with is a thing that feels really floaty. So you can, there are some games that do that, but I just feel like you end up with very floaty, like non-punchy animations. So what you generally have to do is you have to kind of lerp into, get some kind of point of the attack.
15k yellow juice.
With our targeting thing where like, so for example,
so I got 36k yellow juice in 2 maps.
So it's called Rolling Slam. Where effectively like you can steer it the whole way. And effectively when we talk about moving while attacking, it's really more about skills like that where you can do, like attacks, like the movement is still built into the animation. So you don't feel floaty, but you still have a level of control over that.
Also, can I just say, we have 5 maps left. I think Bloodlines was worth it. I mean, I don't know how much the price is right now, but I'm inclined to believe Bloodlines was worth it. I think the average map, yeah, it definitely was. The average map I am seeing it definitely is at current prices. Holy, okay.
That sort of stuff, and
this is the Skirab
level of control, but it's
tech I'm going to keep using. Is what that means.
Just like moving arbitrarily, because as I said, you do end up feeling very floaty. So that's just a sort of really comes down to sort of a feels thing, and like as I said, when you do try that kind of stuff, it doesn't end up feeling that great. There's even things that we've tried before along those lines, and yeah, as I said, it just never kind of really felt right. So that's why we didn't end up doing it.
Is it something that we would perhaps see with future melee weapons? Where maybe, okay, you can move while attacking with a sword or an axe as opposed to mace.
As I said, it really is more about the individual skills and like how they specifically function. Like I don't think that we would just generally have we wouldn't have completely freeform movement like that. You'll even notice like in a lot of other melee games, if you like you can have a thing where you can lerp into an attack, and by that what I mean is that you've got a bit of control for part of it, but it's like slows down into like being part of the animation at a certain point. And we'll probably experiment a little bit more with that, but I don't think we'd want to just be like, okay, it's just like full floaty, just like move in any like arbitrary direction while you're attacking type things. I really don't think it feels very good.
Okay. Now this next one, I know you've been asked it many times, but it was the #1 most requested question that I ask about again. And it simply is, why does the warrior have so many downsides on the tree and gear, whereas witch, monk, ranger comparatively have none? I know you guys have talked about this a lot.
Who says we have none?
Well, I mean, fundamentally,
we do have some. It's just melee.
It's funny because I don't think there's necessarily like an extreme number in the warrior area. But the funny thing is when we put a downside on something, we also make the upside higher. And so people then see like, okay, what are the best nodes? And they're going to see these big numbers on like some of these on some of these nodes, and they're going to say, okay, well, like I want that, but I don't want the downside. And so it's kind of like the reason that they attract attention is just because of the fact the numbers are higher. If we didn't have the downside on there, obviously the upside would also be lower. So it's kind of like just that thing. Now, what was that? Sorry.
Is it a packaging problem?
Not necessarily. But as I said, personally, I like the idea that you can spec into different things like that. And so, for example, like a commonly cited one would just be like, you've got like more damage and then less attack speed, right? You've got those kinds of nodes.
Yep.
And it's like the ideal way that you should be thinking about that is an opportunity where it's like, well, what can I use this with that is not going to care about the downside particularly, and right, especially when you've got weapon spec points where it's like, okay, these couple of abilities, you know, I don't care about attack speed, so I'm gonna get that node for that case and that kind of thing. Like, you know, like you want to try and you see each downside as more of an opportunity, in my opinion. So honestly, I feel like I'd want to see more nodes like that around for other parts of the tree, right? Like just do more of that kind of thing. Like
I don't know if we should see more, too much more of it.
Every node's going to downside. That just gets tiring. But yeah, I think there's a few there. I don't think there's necessarily too many there, but they certainly attract attention because of the fact that the upsides are higher on them as well.
They do.
So here's the thing. I mean, for the upside and downside conversion, I've always, like, I know it comes with the down, is because it has a downside that its upside is as good as it is. The less attack speed, the less attack speed, it's the way it is, right? I'll open the thing. I think the less attack speed that keeps being mentioned is, I want to say here, this is one of them. Reduce attack speed, increase damage with this. The problem with nodes like this is that it's increased damage and you already get so much. Why would you want 5% reduced attack speed? Which, I mean, attack speed is a multiplier in and of itself because you get way less of it. So to get 5% reduced is not as good as the increased damage with two-handed weapons. But to say it's not on other sides is kind of also just ignorant as well, because like this one comes with slower start or faster of ES recharge as an example. That's a very big downside if you don't have that much increased start of ES recharge. As an example, this one is a much lower number, but it also has like convert life to ES. But as you can see, this is 25% versus 60%. So if you're going for this one, you typically have to account for the downside. And a lot of the other nodes have downsides, like Gigantic also has reduced reservation of minion skills. So again, it's not a case of it's on one side and it's not on the other. It's just, I think it's just the upside of the Warriors side specifically. In the case of this one specifically, the 40% increased damage when you're in the end game build is probably not worth the 5% attack speed you lose. That's just the truth of the matter. You'd probably rather get 25% increased damage and no reduced attack speed than to get this one and the reduced attack speed. But then again, if you're a stun build, then sure. But if you're not a stun build, then this is definitely worth it. So I think it's just cases like that where the upside has to be worth the upside has to be worth the downside. And in this one specifically, at least, I would say it's probably not. Probably not, at least in my opinion. Just because it's increased. All right, where were we?
Yeah, there's not as many curse things on the right side of the tree as the left. Like
right. I mean, yeah, we can.
Yeah,
As I think there's room for adding more of those, honestly.
Now, how about those are openly advertised? How about the hidden penalties? I know one that still exists
movement
to this day
speed
is the penalty for movement speed on heavy armor. Is that something that you guys would ever want to remove?
I mean, I guess I don't have a problem with it myself. I've always kind of found it to be just like, like it's just an interesting thing, once again, to build around on different characters. I don't like part of the reason to do it on the heavy armor is just that like tanky feeling you can kind of have from like, I'm a strong warrior, and so I think it just sort of works on that level. But yeah, as I said, I don't feel particularly inclined to get rid of that one, I have to say.
Yeah. All right, I know you've been asked about this a lot. I think if you added a rhinoceros mount for the warrior, I think all your problems would be solved. Then people could like ride on the rhino, wielding the giant mace, feel like they're on the Roa. Be good.
Well, I don't know about a rhino, but yeah, we'll see. I just think that more mounts is more of a post 1.0 type of feature.
Okay. Let's see here. Oh, this is.
I mean, I still remember when they first announced mounts in PoE in Path of Exile.
So, last patch in 0.3,
True, of course.
you added the ability to instantly weapon swap, as opposed to it having a delay in 0.102.
I think that's a very good change.
I didn't see a lot of builds that utilize the.
I don't like the gameplay jank it introduced to minion builds. I will say that. Not a fan of it, but it was, I think, overall to the game, it was a net positive.
Multi-weapon swap capabilities. They usually stick to just one weapon. Now, moving forward to 0.4, I know you're encouraging the form shifting and all that. Do you have thoughts on why people aren't specking into multiple weapons, like a quarterstaff and a spear, or a crossbow and
I mean,
mace?
I wouldn't say it's that unusual. Like, I mean, you certainly do see it, and I think you'll see it more and more over time. I mean, like the mechanics are there to allow for that kind of thing. Like, there's generally speaking, you know, like I sort of suspect that one of the reasons is that something I've noticed is that people, when they see it, they almost feel bad.
What is this map? I don't want to sacrifice my yellow for blue, but I think I just have to. Like doing two, there'll be many of these I don't upgrade. I end up getting shit for the yellow. It will still be up to like a divine or something, but I think I'll get more out of blue if I'm using blue if I'm being honest. So it is what it is. I want to get water real quick, then we'll continue the video and harvest. Okay, I am back. So where were we?
About it rather than good in some cases, where they're like, oh, like it's just an exploit that you're using this other ability from this other class to like just you get this one effect. And it's like, well, that is kind of the point, right? Like if there's another class that has a thing that,
it's Info
like,
Aura.
you know, that allows you to get this thing more easily than your current class, then yeah, I mean that's kind of the reason why that exists, right? So like I don't know, I feel like you do see quite a lot of it. I think maybe
What was this question?
you know, well, like one of the reasons is that like I think you'll see it more and more.
People aren't specking into multiple weapons like a
multiple weapons.
or a crossbow and
I mean,
mace.
I wouldn't say it's that unusual. Like, I mean, you certainly do see it, and I think you'll see it more and more over time. I mean, like the mechanics are there to allow for that kind of thing. Like, there's generally speaking, you know, like I sort of suspect that one of the reasons is that something I've noticed is that people, when they see it, they almost feel bad about it rather than good in some cases, where they're like, oh, like it's just an exploit that you're using this other ability from this other class to like just you get this one effect. And it's like, well, that is kind of the point, right? Like if there's another class that has a thing that like, you know, that allows you to get this thing more easily than your current class, then yeah, I mean that's kind of the reason why that exists, right? So like I don't know, I feel like you do see quite a lot of it. I think maybe people have a different imagination in their mind about what it might be. Like what that would look like, but yeah, I mean, what it does look like is, you know, you're trying to find a combo that that can work, and that's why we have all these different sort of synergies.
I still don't like how
shared
it's
mechanics, right? So you've got, you know, things like armor breaking,
changing minion meta for
kind
it.
of like allow you to sort of, you know, potentially get better things. Now, for the druid, you're right. We're leaning into weapon swap here specifically because of the fact that you've got the hybrid melee and caster stuff going on, and so there's a lot more specific synergy in that case. You know, and you kind of will need to be able to, you know, learn how to do the weapon swap. And I guess what we might see from that is more people just being generally aware of the options there, and then potentially doing more stuff with build creation. But as I said, I wouldn't say it's like not happening.
Glad I went for blue.
Like no real downsides to doing so. So, you know, I'd say that it's a thing that happens for sure.
Okay. Building on this point, you think in the future you'll bake more cross-class synergies into skills? For example, when I saw the Druid primal skills, the elemental ones, I was like, oh, I wonder if they have infusions baked into them. That's something you guys think about?
We did think about the infusion case. In the end, we did decide to keep that to be like for the elemental spellcaster stuff specifically, like so for the sort set of skills. But like, look, I do like doing that kind of stuff. I just didn't in this particular case. It didn't feel quite right because there weren't like. It didn't feel like there was a full elemental cycle in the same exact way that the like to justify the infusions being in there, and it would feel a bit weird to just have like one skill or two skills like have it. So in the end, it kind of we decided to not do the infusions and just keep it as a mechanic for the sock.
Okay. And touching on infusions just a little bit more, you guys are leaning into that mechanic with remnants as well for like the Acolyte of Chayula. Obviously, the Acolyte received pretty tremendous number buffs this time around. I've seen some people talk about how the payoff for going around and collecting the remnants or the infusions isn't necessarily worth like how much damage they're getting from it or the effect afterwards. Is that something you guys are keenly like looking into and making sure that it's always worthwhile at the end of the day?
I think there's a few things going on with that that really just come down to a lot of balance numbers. So like one of the things that I haven't been doing this work myself, but Mark has, is we've been increasing the durations of a lot of things in this balance pass. Like one of the things that in PoE 1, the sort of standard duration for something was kind of like 4 seconds. In PoE 2, it kind of needs to be longer to actually be worthwhile. So like 6, 8, and 10 in some cases. So generally speaking, like a lot of these numbers have sort of ended up as the similar numbers to what PoE 1 had for certain things, or just like people just used to being like, okay, if you've got a duration, just put 4 seconds as a kind of a default. But yeah, I think in PoE 2, you actually need those numbers to be longer to sort of make things work. So that's been a thing to kind of just increase durations to make it actually worthwhile. And also means you don't feel as frantic, like feeling like, oh, I have to use this before it goes away and that kind of stuff. Like there's just a lot of that sort of stuff that can kind of improve the feeling of that. But the other thing as well is just increasing the there's more nodes or like buffing nodes that make pickup radiuses be larger. There's like another axis that you can do to kind of make the like if you it should be possible to get your pickup radius to the point where like it effectively like changes the dynamics of entirely, so you don't have to worry about actually going to pick them up. They just kind of come to you because the pickup radius is far enough away. Like if you want to spec into that, right? It's another build axis you can do. So you kind of just do this stuff. And so as I said, it's more of a question of just balance number things so you get the feel right. The durations of things really goes a long way to that.
Okay. Swapping gears over to
oh my god
for a little bit. Now, in this interview with Ziggy D, you and Mark mentioned that in the future,
I hate when this I hate that this happens.
Going to remove item rarity from gear, you just don't know what to replace it with yet. Is that correct?
I am not going to promise anything because like we can see how like things go, but like as I said, right now I would prefer to remove it, and it's really just a question of what to replace it with. So that's like kind of my feeling about it right now. But yeah, look, it's gonna. There's still some arguments in the other direction, but look, this seems to be generally what people prefer. And at this point, I'm sort of pretty sympathetic to that. So that's what I prefer to do. It's funny, though, because it can seem trivial. Like, oh, surely you can come up with another mod to come up to replace that. But it has to be on all gear. It has to have some level of, like... it has to feel like it's something you can specialize in that isn't damage on your build that you actually meaningfully need, which is quite tricky. Like in order to make it so
they are trying to remove it. Okay.
When you're getting these mods on your gear. So I don't think it's like okay to just be like a completely junk useless mod. Like there needs to be something where it's like okay, any character might want this, but it's also something you would only want to worry about at the point where you've already like sorted your damage and resistance and other.
Hear me out. Hear me out. You have exactly what you need in the other game. Let me just pull it up. Ta-da!
Some problems. So like that's the kind of thing that it needs to be able to do. So yeah, that does make it tricky.
Oh my!
We'll just say I had 0% item rarity and 0.3. Had a great time, you guys. Throw that out there.
Sure, you don't need it. Like you don't need it. It absolutely is not necessary. Yeah. I do think there's a lot of misunderstanding about exactly what it does and how much it affects things and so on, and that doesn't really help. And part of the reason for that is just because it is so complicated and how it works, and like it kind of can't be any other way than complicated just due to the nature of all the various things that are going on in the item drop system.
2 follow-ups there. Have you guys ever considered releasing the kind of formula behind it because there's been so much community speculation, or is that something you want to keep close to your chest?
We really don't want to do that because item drops are something that you want to be able to tweak how they work and so on. And like, there's like it would mean that every single time we change anything, people would be like on us, you know, like rats up a drain pipe. So you know, it's kind of like
Lol, that's an interesting
you
scene.
want to be able to have that.
Or is it
something that you can,
simile?
like, fiddle around with a little bit. But the other thing as well is that, like it's so tricky. There is a lot of emergent complexity that comes out of the rules that it has, in terms of how like what results in what as far as like the final drops are concerned. And so yeah, I don't even think it's like even is that understandable. Now the same is true of the stat system, right? And yet PoE, what do you call it? The sorry, the name's fallen out of my head. The thing that you use to make builds.
POB.
Building.
Part of the building, sorry, yes. The part of the
Okay, I don't
building.
use it
So I
either.
mean, things like part of the building exists. So it's not like people wouldn't make a model of it, right? Like they would,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I just, you know, yeah, like I just think we'd prefer not to have to go down that road.
Okay, burninating and now rats up a drain pipe. That's two things I'm adding.
Maybe
to my
that might be enough
vocabulary.
Trojan slang potentially.
That's good.
So I'm not sure.
And then one extra thing, I saw people
Rats
talking
up
about
it.
how the
Oh my
changes to
god,
item
my
rarity,
internet.
this patch reduced its values on gear. Wouldn't
Yeah.
that have the effect of more people wanting to try to put as much item rarity on their gear because they now it has lesser values across all your gear slots? Now it becomes more of a coveted stat. That kind of acting in reverse, or
So I don't necessarily think so. So last time we lowered the numbers in a way that didn't affect what the numbers displayed on items were, and I think that actually in retrospect it would have been better to do the other way around because people still see a number that they still assume has a certain effect. So this time we decided to do it in the way of just reducing the numbers on the gear, which like at the end of the day you still have to get the you still have to get the like the mod, you still only get one mod per gear slot, right? So right, like it is a strict nerf to what you can do. But I believe that we also adjusted the formula at the same time. So like in terms of what the max that it affects. So as far as I'm understanding, like it means that like you don't need more of your gear to have item rarity on it. Like it's just that the displayed number and the cap is now lowered at the same time, so that you kind of like, you know, you've got that feeling of like, okay, like I can see this is having a lesser effect than what it would have had before. Just sort of communicate that a bit better.
okay, let the speculation run rampant. Let's go to a fun question. I don't know if you have the stats on this, but I'll ask you anyway. So for Path of Exile 1, we can see Steam achievements of like who's killed Hillock and who's finished the campaign, who's taken out the Searing Exarch. Do you have those type of stats internally for Path of Exile 2? And do you know like the percentage of people who have
Fun
killed the Miller,
facts.
finished the campaign, and killed the Arbiter of Ash?
If
I
I
actually don't
had
know what those are offhand. We can get them. Like we do have stat collection that for that kind of thing. But yeah, it would just be a question.
Yeah, I think they mentioned they
one of the
had a
things
guy
is I
for
normally-
that. But fun fact, if I didn't have my weapon swap on bound, I'll probably have lost all my specters when I altered to get or to see items.
Only
I fat fingered X.
ask for stats about things if I'm actually got like a change in mind that I want to do in response to those stats.
Okay.
There's one
Oh,
of these
God.
mistakes people can make sometimes.
Don't
where
eat
they,
my yellow.
They effectively just like look at a bunch of stats to see what jumps out. And the problem with that is that you can get outliers that then cause you to make bad decisions. So I sort of prefer to be like, before I go and like use a stat for something, I'm like, okay,
Nice. We kept it.
what would I do if the stat was, you know, this value? What would I do if it was that value? And kind of know the answer to that before I ask for the
Welcome
stat,
back.
in order to prevent myself from making decisions based on just like looking at a bunch of stats.
So you
I
mean
am
you're not
wow.
out here staring
I
at
know
Steam
that you
charts?
were using
Nani?
stats a lot, and I think it was 0.2 with volatile plants. You found out that it was
What- where
killing
is it?
so many players, and you made changes.
I was just gonna
based on
say
those
that I
stats.
am
Have there been
currently-
any for 0.3 going
Hey,
to 0.4 that have
back.
stood out to you?
I'm
Can you
currently
not-
doing the
But
capstone.
as I said, it's not kind of the
Can you not hear me?
working for
Oh.
balance. So
Oh, shit.
as I said, it's the kind of thing that we'll look into.
Think you're ready for it, item-wise?
Really common situation is if people are complaining about something.
Probably not,
and we're like,
but
we
the
don't
group I was
understand
doing
if that's the
contenders
time
is
to
like,
do
hey, we're
stats,
gonna
we're
do
like,
it. And I
let's
was
try to
like,
find out
alright.
why, what's actually
Nice.
They
going
said,
on.
have
Good
you
luck.
done it? And I was like, no.
Question
And then
about
they said,
Fate of the Val a little bit and its loot. So
we mostly got
we
this.
have
We'll
obviously
give you
have a
some
temple that we're
notes.
building.
That's
Is this
alright.
going to be something that's
Good luck.
influenced by item rarity, and are we getting
Thanks, we killed the
drops from
first
here,
boss.
or are they all in like reward
Nice.
curios and chests and all that stuff?
Where on Earth?
So
Is
it's
the
a
bug?
mix because
I was gonna ask you if it was normal for these enemies to have skull
the
icons on
monsters in the
them.
temple just
In other games, that means they will one-shot me.
They have
Every
I don't know
skull
what it means in this game.
icons.
Yeah,
How many
that's
enemies
like
have skull
the mobs.
icons?
All the mobs after the first boss, basically.
Had skull icons. I feel like this. I feel like I don't think I saw skull icons.
So it's Jover. If they look at me. Yeah. But you know.
I don't think they'll one-shot you, but yeah, they might be doing big damage to you.
drops, and those like effectively get juiced by mods that the rooms can give. So effectively, it can mean that you got this sort of more traditional way that you can juice mods, like you know, you can juice rarity of things in that way. But then there's also particularly like fixed drops, and a lot of the room, like most generally speaking, most of the rooms will have some kind of drop like that. But the way that it's often delivered is in some kind of crafting device that you can either use right away, or you can take the currency from, or like in the higher levels and that kind of thing. So like there's a lot of kind of fixed drops or like fixed uniques and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the rewards just come from those sort of fixed elements, which you will know that you're going to get because you've got a certain room. So obviously people will have to like work out like what comes from what and everything. There's not that many rooms, but then they do have different levels, and so like generally speaking, they get more. Things get more powerful as you go up, and then also you've got the stuff where there's like there are extra reward rooms that you get for killing the architect and that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of fixed drops in the league for sure, but yeah, more traditional stuff from just from regular monster killing.
And how high can you juice up the temple? Do you expect it to be on par with the rewards that people are getting from maxed out maps
Interrupting
and
this
the
whole
like,
damn tank
or
just
does it
typing
yeah, it could
interrupt.
absolutely be. So, I mean, the intention
Oh
is-
shit, I forgot.
What did you say?
I forgot I can't interrupt.
If you see that mage doing a giant purple and nobody's face is beside saying they are going to interrupt, you might want to interrupt and just keep him marked. Also, in your settings, there should be a cycle for prioritizing.
Oh shit, really? I was gonna say because that's just ass to do
interruptible-
without that. Do you know if it
Yeah,
does that by default?
No, it doesn't do it by default. You have to activate it, I think. But yeah, you can set it to prioritize interruptible enemies. So when they start doing that, I think if you press tab, it should go to that as a priority.
Scale it into end game, like both in terms of difficulty as well as the rewards. So that's why I've got the whole like tier 3 room.
By the
thing
way,
going on
I
with
have
your
3
mods,
maps
and, like, you can
left,
stack a lot of that stuff.
and a
It's very,
total
very
of
hard.
Bro,
one.
you high
The-
roll that back.
thing that
Bro, this shit is farming. It's fucking giga high rolling.
I don't think I'm giga high rolling. I think yes, I am high rolling. Right, this is a high roll, but I think Bloodlines on baseline is giving me more juice. Is what I'm saying. Because like I felt unlocking the first 10 maps, but don't forget in the first 10 maps I also got 70k.
You high roll big, yeah.
I think Bloodlines increases the floor and ceiling.
I could totally see that.
So, because remember, before this, I've done 40 crop rotation maps before this, right? And in both of them, even the ones where I felt like I got really lucky, I never reached 100k, not once. But with this one, I was at 70k at 10 maps in, and I can still very vividly remember a few maps. My first few maps were like, okay. But here's the thing: this is why I know it's increasing the floor. Is because in those maps where I'm getting like just I guess I'll say just not lucky, I still like get drops from like T3 monsters, and I mean typically, at least in my experience, when you're seeing T3 monster drops, it's all yellow, right? It's just like that's the, at least for me, that's color of my filter for just yellow, because it's sub like 250. But like with Bloodlines, I've been seeing more than like a deeper orange, because the value is higher than that, but not quite as much as what you would get from a T4. So like I see quite a few of them from like when I kill a plot. So that's how I know, like on average, each of those drops is more than it typically would be otherwise. Anyways, let me continue playing the interview.
Way, which is probably something we should communicate in some way in the game as well, is that you don't have to keep killing the architect necessarily. It can be a better strategy to not kill the architect and instead just build up the temple with lots and lots of rooms if your goal is like kind of like max endgame juicing. Because the architect has got certain rewards that they can give you with specific reward rooms, but it does like destroy more of the temple when you kill him. So like if you want to build the biggest temple to get like the most maximum amount of just like traditional rewards in the sense of just like juicing individual monsters, the best strategy is like don't kill the architect, instead just like finish the rest of the temple and then build more and get as large as you can to get the most mods possible.
Right.
So
Shoot.
How do you know when the boss is ready to like be interrupted for these? Because they're not like showing a loading screen on some of the attacks, like the other like in normal dungeons and shit. For these, how do you know if I? How do I know when I can interrupt these bosses?
It's a yellow bar that's filling up. If it's a gray bar, it's not interruptible.
Is it a yellow? Sometimes there's like a yellow box that's filling up like a square.
What do you mean for them? It's a bar under their name, and if it's yellow and it's filling up, you can interrupt the ability.
Okay, but some of them are like actually just like raid wides that we can't dodge, right?
If it's
You know what a raid wide is?
I don't know what the raid wide
Raid
is.
wide means unavoidable AOE.
Yes, like in terms of this is where the tank's positioning matters and everything, because like in terms of the boss is going to do certain things that are just like big AOE that will do a lot of damage to the team. So he's meant to be like opposite from the team, facing the other way. So when the boss uses that in a cone, he actually targets, you know, doesn't hit that. You can't interrupt those kind of abilities. That's what you're asking.
Okay.
Like I said, those ones should have, I think, a gray bar. The bar should be gray for those abilities charging up. Or if they even show the charge up at all, I'm not entirely sure. But it should be gray, or it shouldn't look interruptible, is the point. So I'll go this. All right.
there's kind of like a few strategies. Like you've got like architect killing, which is going to get you reward rooms. You've got like just build the temple big and just get traditional drops, or you've got like Zeri kills, which is going to getting the Zeri rewards and that kind of stuff. So there's kind of a few different strategies you could have there.
So there's going to be strategies that revolve around
big things I saw
killing the architect and building a certain temple before that.
It was their first Exile game.
It was very betrayal.
This is gonna be a really cool mini game, like in a betrayal way.
And their minds just
yeah,
I kind of like that a lot.
I mean, I'm a big betrayal enjoyer. Everybody here knows it. I cope on betrayal more than anything in this game, so I'm down for it. If you're going to tell me that knowledge is powerful, what do you say? Like,
said betrayal baits my man on a daily basis.
I mean, even T17, my favorite T17 is the one that has Katarina. I wonder why.
Dude, I did that and that shit was pain.
Whoa.
I didn't even die that much on the build doing it, but she just takes so fucking long.
I mean, Katarina takes a long, because like even if you one shot her, she still takes a long time.
Yeah,
because
like, just like sometimes she's just
like
waiting for her to phase.
You phase her the first time, and then maybe she's mid attack, or maybe she's doing delirium shit, so you have to wait, and then when it's done, she'll now do the whole staff animation where things go to the staff, and then she'll slam her lieutenant, and the lieutenant comes in and is like, you fight. Sometimes, and depending on the lieutenant kind of disappear, and then you can't fight him for like a few seconds. Because I told you, two of the lieutenants, the second and third, can do this, by the way. They can just disappear for a few seconds. Now you're not doing damage. We're just waiting for them to re-emerge. And then when you kill them, before you can damage her again, she has to grab her staff, because why not? And then you can fight her again. And then if you're unfortunate enough to not do enough damage to skip children, well, you're going to have to do the whole children mechanic. Maybe if you're lucky, you can do the children mechanic as she's phasing and doing the other thing, but odds are she'll be stuck in Delhi doing something else. So yeah, it's an experience for sure. But I actually do like the fights, unironically. Mostly because of the drops, I think. The drops, it's the one T17 I know. I mean, it takes the longest, which is why I assume the drops are as good as they are. But like, it's the one T17 I know that just by running this T17, I am making profit regardless of anything.
Wasn't that lucky on realities on it, but
Jesus
my last
Christ.
like 20. I think I
Yeah.
dropped like 4. I was like really unlucky, but
What about
I had a good
eaters?
time. Yeah, I dropped a lot of eaters.
Yeah,
I
like
ran them all, to be honest.
like even if you get unlucky on realities, oh my god, this map I'm in, not only did it spawn with 3 freaking plots, so juicing potential is very limited. The first 2 I tried wilted, so it's just despair. All 3 wilted. Yeah, let's just complete the wilt. Okay, let's continue the video.
Have you guys thought about that? Is there
Shit,
does it
annoy
get
me.
a little bit in the weeds sometimes with it, or can you kind of just build your temple and go and expect to have
You
a good
can
time?
just build your temple, and like because of the fact that it shows you the squares that are gonna upgrade things. Like now you can think about it. But like you can be thinking on a deeper level of like I want to upgrade this specifically, so I'm gonna make sure like leave a hole here so like to place the room that goes next to it, that kind of stuff. Like you can think like that, or you can just place things where the bright green is, and you'll honestly do fairly well. Like the UI is definitely like a lot better than what we would have done in the past, and it's actually one of the reasons why I developed the simulation myself, because I was writing the code in such a way to make the UI for communicating the stuff as easy as possible. So like one of the things I was initially like is like if I just made this without thinking about the UI experience, it probably would have gone very differently, because when I was building it, I'm like, okay, every single thing you do, you need to be able to show the user exactly what it will do to the temple when you hover it. Like before you commit, you need to see that, which means you need a way to like predict the next state before you've actually committed to the previous one. And that's like just like a thing that's like easy to do when you're building it initially, but would have been hard to bolt on afterwards if I just asked a UI programmer to do that. So like it's that kind of thing that you need to think about really early on. And then there's also the whole idea of just like, making sure that you can even like
I should have saved this for the harvest, if I'm being honest.
Like, okay, will this upgrade anything and that kind of stuff. Like it allows you to like to get those UI cues and really well, so it just makes it much better for communication.
Holy, what the fuck is this damage?
I love hearing the game design tidbits. I swear that's my favorite part of all this, learning all this.
Oh, that's
Okay.
there's
You also said that
crits,
Fate of the Vow was
there's
your first
giga
full league that you
hastes
put
on
out in Path of
monsters.
Exile 2. It has very in-depth mechanics. It has the new pinnacle boss.
Oh,
it has
it's
all these unique crafting capabilities.
it's 60%
Is this something that
delirious.
you
That's
guys are
not.
gonna look back to do for the other leagues that were.
Why does
ported
he
to
hurt so
PoE2
much?
from PoE1? So your rituals, your
Not sure why.
deliriums. Do you want to give them the full treatment that I feel like we got with Abyss too? I feel like you might be selling yourself
Well,
short.
yeah.
with
So I mean,
Abyss.
Abyss was pretty good for sure.
Yeah.
It's just that this one's even
8%, the
slightly
boss is
a bit beyond that. And I
8%,
feel
bro.
like put it this way, I would say Abyss was reaching the tier of like stuff that a PoE1 league has been doing, but I feel like this Fate of the Val is more like what we kind of want to be doing for a PoE2 like tier of league in terms of like the amount of stuff going on. Now you're completely right that some of the older leagues are not nearly as good compared to in PoE2. I mean compared to the newer stuff, and that really is where 050 like with all the in-game stuff we're talking about. Like it's about that, right? Like it's about making all those league mechanics feel more full, have more things going on. Like making sure that and like when we talk about the Atlas tree, it's like like a lot of the reason why the Atlas tree is not as good is because there aren't as many things that it can do to the leagues that are in the Atlas. And things like that. There's like stuff like that needs to be addressed. So it's a lot of that stuff that needs to happen to kind of make
What is
the
this?
in-game feel better. And yeah, it really is about making those leagues feel more interesting.
Revisiting what we talked about at the top of the interview with endgame being pushed to 0.5, what was
Beat
the
it.
decision making like with you guys
Congrats.
when you said, okay,
I
we're
only
gonna
died at the final
push
boss.
endgame and we have
Honestly,
Fate
I
of the
knew.
Val coming out? Is
I
there
don't
a
know.
reason why
She
you
did
guys focus
something.
more on the
What's
But I
that?
don't know. It killed me. I just said that, and I only died at the final boss.
Yeah, congrats. Your first try?
Yeah, but I'm not gonna take credit for that. I think these people were really good.
Oh, I know. Trust me. I did some heavy lifting in what I actually beat. I did the ones I lost, so I did some heavy lifting as well. But it is what it is. I had fun in them, so I can't complain. I genuinely think I had more fun having to deal with all of that than not. Ooh. This map is rippy for some reason. Is there less recovery, or what is happening here? They're actually just doing more damage than I expect on my player character, and I can't fully figure out why. I know there's crits here, and I am. How much anti-crit do I have? I have 78%.
I got
Yes, 70,
carries,
almost
yes.
20%.
But honestly, I felt like I held my own there though, because the other DPS guy was like 2 mil below me the whole time,
Nice.
and I didn't die till the final boss of the mechanic I actually just wasn't the most familiar with.
That means
That's what makes me think that I actually like I might have gotten. I think the tank and stuff knew the fight enough that they could do their thing, but I didn't die till the boss had the final boss had 8% HP.
were you
Like there
doing
were still
mechanics,
mechanics I
or
had to
was
engage
it?
with. Yeah, I get to do. I had to do everything. I had to
Of course,
do
I knew
first
it.
boss, don't stand in the stuff and take the purple out, or second boss. The healer soaked all the damage for the second boss fight, so we were just trying to stay away from the healer, and then we were close to the boss during the fight, and then we would use the big cleave to kill the orbs following her, and
Yeah,
then the last boss.
that second boss is very spicy with the
Yeah,
like
especially if you don't know.
those orbs, because as they get closer to you, you're getting slower, so it's harder to run away from them. So like,
Yeah, I noticed that.
it's just
Final boss was more confusing though, because I know that you want to stack for the blue and purple, then get out. And I know when you get red, separate from the other person, you guys want to be like aligned, and no one should be in
there,
between you,
there
or
was
else they'll
this
take damage.
there
But
was
I don't understand the thing that
this
she literally takes you.
it takes
I don't
you.
understand.
Do you
So kill me.
mean the blue circle? There's a blue circle where you're meant to stand with as many teammates as possible, so everybody soaks damage and each person takes less damage. Did you know that one?
I think it was that one, literally.
Then yeah, you're meant to stand with as many teammates as possible, not run away from them. Typically, that's when you see the tank actually try to get to you, even when that one is on someone. So if you ever
Still
noticed,
really enjoyed
if you
that,
ever
though.
noticed the tank moving, it was probably for that one, and that's for if it's on your teammates, then you don't want to run away from them.
Yeah,
But GG, sounds like you did good.
it's fun. Yeah, I mean, I think
The capsule was definitely fun. Like I enjoyed it. Oh god, oh
that
god,
was
oh god.
fun. They wanted to do another, but
Of course.
I needed to take a break, or else I would have done another one.
Yeah. What's your gear level now? Are you up to 80?
Well, now that I did all of, do I need to be 80 to the next thing?
Adept, yeah.
I'm 65 now because I used that. I just started using, because now I could use my coins at the person to buy level 75 gear everywhere.
Yeah.
So I just replaced a lot of my gear with 75.
Good.
But I still have a bunch to replace.
Your next upgrade should be just going to the blacksmith and upgrading, not buying new things now.
Shit, really? Well,
Yeah,
like, I
'cause-
still had 15. I still have like 15s, that's why.
Upgrade. Okay, yeah, don't upgrade the 15s. Upgrade like your 75s. You have 75s.
Even if they're green and not blue.
You can upgrade some greens. You can upgrade some blues. Up to you. I did some greens that had good stats for me. Like if it had haste and spirit, I upgraded it. Dude, I'm telling you, this map is trippy, and I don't even know what. It must be the crit and the haste. The haste is very giga, so it's probably that. It's just they're hitting very quickly with all the mortars and everything. I think that's it. The combination of these two factors, but sheesh, it's
You can upgrade stuff.
oh
with
my
black side.
god. This is the only map that's 4 portals. I have 2 portals left. That's how rough it is.
League,
There's a set item
which
piece, okay.
looks awesome as opposed to the end game core.
Is there
game
anything we want to
changes.
like
Was there
priority upgrade? Do you know?
No, I don't know any priority upgrades. We are 2 different characters, remember? Have different stat
Well,
priorities as well. These guys are not taking damage. Why are they not taking damage?
How many times are you upgrading your shit?
I mean, it depends. I upgraded to get to the 80 mark. I wasn't always upgrading because it's quite good expensive.
This is our gold sync, though, right?
It's
want
upgrading the
to
items
say like
and buying new items, yeah. But the thing is, you also don't want to like you don't have enough gold to just perma upgrade. So you have to make decision. You have to make smart calls there as well. Okay, so there was something on this map that was killing me, and I don't know what it's. Okay, so there's less armor. That's one. 60% deli, reflect fizz. Yeah, I don't do much fizz. Like my leap slam, sure, but yeah, I don't think that was it. Then giga haste. All right, 63% increased attack speed is insane, alongside 60 crit multi and decent crit chance. Now again, I have it's 78% reduced damage, so crit is not that big for me. It's still extra damage, but not by too much. So overall, I think the combination of the little thing here plus this one plus armor, just I think that's it. And the delirious, of course. Delirious was part of the equation.
A specific reasoning there, or was it a timing thing?
It wasn't necessarily a question between the league and the end game, because you need to have a league. You just have to. Like, people will not come back if there isn't a league. So like that's just
that is true.
So really, it comes down to what other content is going to be in the patch, and it really would have been, if we wanted to push to get the end game stuff done, we probably would have had to sacrifice the druid, which I really didn't want to do. There was a point where we were like, could we sacrifice the druid to be able to do this in-game stuff? And we decided, you know what? I think that's probably a worse trade. But even then, I think it probably wouldn't have delivered quite the what we needed to have, just because you know, like there are some
they already postponed the druid the first time, so I don't think postponing the second time was going to be really an option.
Good as what it will be when it's in 050 instead. So I feel like we would have compromised in two ways. We would have had like no druid, and we would have had a worse end-game expansion as well. So I definitely don't think it was the right move. Yeah, it's going to definitely be better to do it later.
Divide order.
Okay, this one's a question for myself that I'm curious about. The release in China, the official release happened in 0.
Dude, why is my screenshot being slower lately?
The reception in China, and how did it compare to the original 0.1 release, the global release?
Well, you know, it's going pretty well there, but honestly, I don't have like a huge amount to say about it. Like, you know, it's another market. It's published by Tencent there, and they kind of do that job, and they handle most of the stuff going on there.
Okay. Quick follow-up. What piece of community feedback during 0.3 helped shape 0.4 the most? Is there one thing that really stands out to you guys as, oh my gosh, we definitely need to fix this? And you can't say endgame. Okay.
Yeah. I honestly don't know that I could pick any one particular thing. I mean, I guess probably one of the things that's just been generally on our mind is just build diversity and that kind of stuff, like trying to improve that. So there's been a lot of like, you know, balance work and so on going on behind the scenes.
All right, so in this map, we're obviously going to be doing... It's sort of hard to sort
of pick that up and be like, hey, this feature was specifically inspired by that, you know, because it really is just like a lot of smaller things.
Drop me them divines.
Like, the performance work is obviously something I'm really focused on. The balance work is something Mark's really focused on. These are kind of like the two big things that we're really trying to make sure are getting better. And both of us, unfortunately, in both cases, are like, there's still more to do, right? There's still so much more to do. And Mark as often will say, you know, like, the problem with balance is that you could infinitely do it. Like, you could he could literally spend his entire life doing only that and never anything else, and it would still feel like it wasn't enough. So you know, that's one of those things. But yeah, we will get to a point though where I think the
come on, give me currency due. That's what I need.
Exciting. I was shocked to see almost every single one was buffed. What did you guys look at in particular to make those decisions? Do you guys use like PoE Ninja? Is it primarily just reading about the feedback?
I mean, they give PoE Ninja the API it uses to track stuff.
From Mark, this one, but from my understanding, I mean, look, he does do a lot of research on Ninja and that kind of stuff. He's looking at things, but ultimately, he's, you know, he's the question. A lot of the thing is like, why is this not played? Is the hard part sometimes, because the attention usually goes on the things that are being played. That's what people talk about a lot of the time. So it's a much harder thing to look at, okay, like here's something that isn't played, why? And that's really the question he's asking most of the time. Just like, what would it take to get me to play this is the question that you need to be asking yourself when you're doing these balance things.
Smart. Okay, shifting gears to the Druid, which is something that I was incredibly excited to finally see in Path of Exile 2 after waiting for it for so long. You guys introduced two initial ascendancies, the Oracle and the Shaman. And
dude, where's my...
It didn't necessarily vibe with me. I have to pose to you. What happened to an Unga Bunga shape-shifting focus like ascendancy where it's like, oh, you get bonuses for being a bear and swapping into this
Right, right,
different
right.
form. Is that a plan, or is that something you guys want to refrain from, since shape-shifting forms have kind of been baked into weapons, and I know you don't really want to
Right.
attach
So-
ascendancy to a weapon?
Generally speaking, ascendancies
Come
don't,
on, we need more.
Do things that are like, we try to make it so they can be used on many classes with many builds. And so if we just said like, here's the shape-shifting ascendancy class, everyone would just do that, and then there kind of wouldn't be any room left over for other things. And so that's why we would prefer to not do that if we can. I think Mark even already said that, like, you know, we might do a more shape-shifting focused class for a third one. But if we did, it would have to not even say the word shape-shifting in it. It would have to be like very much implying shape-shifting and have a lot of bonuses that make sense and be in theme for shape-shifting, while not necessarily
Come
actually
on.
requiring you to be shape-shifted in order to make it so that it can work across many things. And you'll see that across all the ascendancy
Sarge,
classes. Like, we
zero
really try to
monsters
make it so
left.
that
We
they're
never
as
got
applicable as
dupe.
possible, while feeling like they're very specific.
What was the craziest part of
Scare up,
creating
dude.
the
Like, why would
Druids
you
the
just give me
past 5,
currency,
6
dude?
years? There a moment that you were just like, why are we even doing this? Like, it's very fun.
Well,
it's
I
gonna
mean,
be cool.
I think I've talked about this before, but like getting the wolf was a challenge.
That's interesting.
And like there was periods where we even cut the wolf, right? Like there was a period where like, we're not doing the wolf again, we're going to do something else. You know, like it ended up being something that people really wanted, and even internally, so we kind of had to do it. But you know, like there's just like,
Is a
it's just
druid
hard.
really
You know,
a druid
we had-
without
we
a
had another
wolf?
form at one point that we were gonna specialize in, that we decided not to do in the end. We were gonna have you turn into a giant plant monster. It was like kind of crazy, but yeah, that's something that you know, it was cool, but it wasn't a wolf.
Yeah.
Like there are things like that we
4
that
monsters
we
left.
did,
I
but
thought it
yeah,
was
it's
1
just
or
been,
0.
it's just mostly just been like a real animation challenge, like having to deal with the things that aren't humans.
Was
that's
there a
much harder.
particular iteration of the druid, whether like a skill or an ascendancy or a form that you haven't talked about that you were excited for but you had to cut? Anything that just
Yeah,
didn't
so
make-
definitely the plant monster. It was
plant.
really cool. Like it walked around on vines, and it had this like kind of interesting like just like feel
Ooh.
to it. I mean, it was the same type of creature as Bramblegast. You know, like we're like you're gonna be like Bramblegast in terms of like walking around.
That's cool.
And it was pretty cool. But as I said, it kind of just didn't really work. And like you do some vine slaps, and then we're kind of like, okay, pretty much the rest of the skill set of this, when you actually try it, just ends up feeling like the same sort of stuff that you had with the nature stuff on the class anyway. So
Right.
you know, like it was cool to be that thing, but it just kind of didn't really make sense in the end.
And people are really vibing with the plant skills too. I see everybody excited to be farmers and to water the plants and everything. Did you expect that sort of reception? Because I'm kind of shocked to see everybody hyped.
I mean, I
up.
was really happy with it, honestly. Like you know, the watering the plants thing came relatively late.
Bruh.
It actually happened while we were trying to work out what support gems we could have for the lightning, for the thunderstorm skill. It used to be called Lightning Storm, in fact, and it just had lightning. And I was like, we were trying to design supports, and I was like, okay, like I need to find something else interesting for this to do. Was it the
Sag.
support? Something like that. But anyway, there was some point where we changed over to be like, okay, let's you know, let's add another mechanic to this that can actually make it so that it interacts with the other skills in the class. And I was really happy with that one. And I suspect what we might even end up doing is have the watering concept come onto the ranger at some point in some way. I'm not quite know how yet, but at some point I'll probably try to come up with that, because I think it kind of can be quite cool. And we did add all of the watering features to all of the plants that the ranger already has.
Oh, really? Okay, so there's some.
Yeah, so you
synergies
can
there.
water all the ranger's plants if you want. I mean, currently we're required to do something cross-class, but
Okay.
later on I think we can probably do something interesting with that.
Okay. I want to swap gears and talk a little bit about bosses.
Dude,
Back in 0.3,
can I just say
you guys
there's
tremendously-
something very wrong with my screenshots thing? Because like it takes way too long to freaking screenshots. Like I press the screenshot thing, it just takes forever. Like, why are you so slow? The orb is gone, Sag. All right.
decrease the health of pinnacle bosses, not bosses of maps or anything. Do you?
Is there a
ever
reason I'm dying
see
this
raising
much?
The
I mean,
ceiling of those
there is my
again,
fault.
so
I
that
was
maybe they're a little
unpausing the
bit more
video, bro.
challenging to
I
the
shouldn't be
top
dying
of the
that
build,
quick.
we'll have something to chase after and fight.
Is there a reason these guys
problem
are
with this
doing as
is
much
that,
damage as
we
they
don't
are?
want to limit the number of builds.
It's
that
probably
keep
just
them
the
viable too
multi
much by having the
effects.
pinnacles be too high in life, and it's especially a little bit. It can be a little bit deceptive when you've got a few things that are completely crazy at the moment, that can sort of effectively make it seem trivial to a lot of people. But yeah, ultimately, it's like the higher your ceiling is on the pinnacles, the higher the well, effectively the higher bar that a build needs to clear to actually be considered viable. And I think it was just kind of not really quite healthy. Now there could still be some adjustment to this, of course, right? Like we'll adjust it once we have a look, but we have to get the balance into a bit more of a like correct place before we can sort of say that like, okay, here's what the life needs to be. And I mean, look, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we ended up buffing some of that life a little bit, but I don't think it needs. I certainly wouldn't want to be like, okay, this is like
16 div,
like ultra challenging. Because as I said, as soon as you have something like that, that'll become the bar you need to clear for a build to be viable, and suddenly a bunch of builds just get erased. So that's the challenging part there.
All right. And I also see, and I debated it myself, people talking about the new boss
82 divines.
window. This only exists in the
Picked
patch
up
notes
this
right
season.
now, unfortunately. So
Right.
we don't know how it plays out in game. Could you just give the skinny on why you guys implemented it and how
Right.
exactly
So
it works?
it's just to prevent preloading of the boss with like all sorts of stuff. You know, like so I don't know exactly how long it lasts, but it's not long. It's just basically the first few seconds of the fight. You the you know the boss is resistant to stuff, and honestly, in PoE 1, a ton of bosses.
All right,
have
let's
it.
see.
It's just like it's just already a thing. In PoE 2, we didn't have it. It's been you know we're adding it. It just prevents like some of the sort of like weird abuse cases that you'll get of like you know I'm going to just preload the exact place where the boss is going to stand
Right.
with all of the
Lightning rod.
effects, and then you know, the
Okay,
boss
so I
doesn't
think
even
I
get a
might
chance to
have
move
gotten a
before it
shipment
dies.
in.
So yeah, it's just to prevent that kind of thing.
Okay. A little bit of a quality of life feature regarding the endgame and tablets. Right now, tablets, they have different icons on them, but it's really hard to differentiate, especially since there's no like stash tab for them. Is there
Yeah,
a way-
we can probably sort that out. Like
okay.
I agree that that's something that we just need to fix. And actually I actually brought it up like yesterday.
I'm trying
with
to
someone,
see
so
if
we might even see if
I
we can
got a
fix that before the
shipment
release
in
if
that
possible.
time.
But I'll see. I'll check out on that.
Okay.
These are
Cool.
things
Yeah,
I
I agree. It could be changed.
Okay.
these are things I sold when I was buying my tattoos. When I was buying my scarabs. But then I got 57 divines raw. Oh, I remember why. It's because by the time I think last time I price checked, I didn't have the divines that I was supposed to get from the Vivid Life Force. So I ended up selling things so I could buy the scarabs. But then these eventually sold, and you know that gave me more money. So as you see, this says 52k, but realistically, I got 100 and something k from this run. I got 125. So pretty good money, I would say. It's actually a lot of money. It's actually a lot of money. I'm trying to figure out if there's anything. Oh no, I did sell something big, I think, in that time. I sold this guy, so that's 30 divines that should not be there. So minus 30d to this 91d revenue. I don't fully remember when this sold. I could check actually. Trade. And then we'll just see if it's before I started this strat, which apparently was last Tuesday. So roughly a week ago. So 30 div here, 20 div here. So it's 5 days ago. 5 days ago is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like Wednesday-ish. So yeah, what's after? So that's minus 50. So we can just say minus 50-ish. 50, let's say 55 to remove all the chaoses and everything. Let's say 55. Minus 55 div, that is still 40. Minus 50 would be 41. So 36-ish div revenue, give or take. And it's not counting a lot of the Vivid Life Force we have with this snapshot thing, because we have 46 div in this, and this is all stuff we got. So just by this alone, we probably break a profit. This is of course ignoring the blue juice, which we also have a few divines there, and the purple juice, which we also have a few divines there, yada yada yada. So very profitable, very profitable. So big plus. I like it. All right. Did we finish? Did we get to a point where we can stop on this interview?
This is a fun one here. So the Path of Exile 2 campaign, swapping gears entirely. Are you satisfied with the current difficulty curve for the campaign?
But yeah, all in all, very happy
I
with
would say that I
the.
mostly am, but there have
Very
been some
happy.
cases where we
So
had
we
problems with
have
weapon types during campaign.
125.
You just had holes in the progression where
And 83 div and a
get
lock,
upgrades for your weapon for pretty significant periods of time. In some
which is
cases.
131 div.
And,
So we
we've
have a lot of
effectively plugged those now so that
effective
the progression
currency
should feel a bit
for
better
our
as we
next
go through.
build if we so
And that
choose
mean
to
that,
send
we
it.
fell into a hole with regard to not being able to get a weapon upgrade in certain places, which was like just an issue, for a lot of the time. Then yeah, that should be sorted out at least. But that being said, like you do want some things to be harder and some things to be easier.
And
like,
this is of
generally
course
speaking,
that
what we
was
want is,
ignoring the
towards the end of
16D.
the
I
act,
actually
it
got.
ramps up in difficulty and gets a bit harder, and then when you have the next act, you get a little bit of a downgrade again. So you get that sort of feeling of relief, a little bit of like, now I'm just fighting regular trash monsters again, and then it kind of ramps up again to get harder again. So that's kind of the ideal curve that we get,
Right.
and to sort of make things not feel too flat, like you get a bit of variety of experiences.
I'm glad you brought up the weapon drop thing, because that's something that's been brought to my attention quite a bit, and I've experienced it too, where the difference between someone who gets that lucky drop and someone who doesn't. I mean, you can have a 30-second boss fight or a 3-minute long boss fight, and some people, they can't last that entire 3 minutes, unfortunately, and they end up just giving up.
Right.
So it sounds you guys adjusted essentially seating.
Well, what
base
more
life,
mostly is was just that you'd have situations where you'd have like gaps of like 28 levels before you got a DPS upgrade, just because of the way the weapon types happen to be.
Yeah.
And like that's obviously not right. So like it should. I'm not going to say it will prevent you from ever having a situation where you would not get a good weapon, but it certainly should reduce the number of cases where that happens quite a lot, just by virtue of improving that.
This also.
All right, I think this is where we're going to end with the interview, and probably where we're going to end with stream as well. We actually finished the 10 harvest maps I wanted to do, so big W on that. I have one more build I want to run before PoE 2. I'm hoping I have the time to do it. I haven't fully POB'd it yet, but I kind of have a shell. We kind of made one. We made it what the shell would look like last week, I think, was it? I can quickly show it, but this was the initial shell that we were planning until we figured out that this ascendancy wants you to reserve the life with the skill, otherwise you don't get the more damage. It will be the herald, so we need the herald of purity to reserve as much life as possible, which means we have to use blood magic. So that entirely changes what we're going to be doing, and I think as a result we are probably not going to be Scion. We're probably going to end up being in Necromancer, because if we go blood magic, we can't have any auras because everything is going to be locked to everything is going to be reserved on life, and we only want our herald to reserve life, basically. So that I think is going to be the plan. Blood magic, have an eternal blessing, and then have probably sublime vision. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. And then of course it's not going to be, I think I'm going to go lone messenger with it, low-key, but I'm still mentally planning everything else, so we'll see how it ends up going anyways. But this is going to be something I POB further maybe tomorrow, and then we start trying to send it before Friday. Oh, and big news on Friday, by the way. I took day off from work, so I should be live right on time for league launch for PoE 2. So that is very, very big. So yeah, we're not going to be doing 24-hour streams, so we don't fuck our sleep schedule up, but we might be doing 12-hour plus streams up until like 3 a.m. my time, something like that. More tame, but same idea, and then we'll be alive for a good chunk of Saturday and a decent chunk of Sunday, I think. But anyways, I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys for stopping by. Appreciate it a lot. Always have fun hanging with y'all. Be back tomorrow. Don't really know if we're going to be watching more interview. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Not entirely sure. We'll figure it out tomorrow. And soon enough, we'll start planning for our PoE 2 build. But right from this interview, what we've gathered is that we're probably going to be going a wolf-centric build, because it does sound like you can get perma wolves as well as temp wolves. And if there's a way to get temp wolves from the perma wolves, then that works as well. And being able to build a scepter with the talisman also is just huge for us. So I'll take it. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow. Till then, have a